If you've ever woken up on National Donut Day and remembered the good times when you could eat those things, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. And yes, it is National Donut Day. So if you have one, take a bite for me because I swore those things off years ago, unfortunately. But happy Friday, everybody. We're back for another session here. We're going to close the week out here today, and we've got some stuff going on. Lululemon getting absolutely smoked yesterday on earnings. Guess we're not really surprised. Michael Burry went long. Yikes. But we got that. We got the big jobs number coming here today. And another exciting session. Mark Putrino will be joining us today. Anne Marie will be joining us today. It's going to be a good one. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Friday edition for June 5th, 2026, starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Thursday. If you watched that hockey game, you were treated to a hell of a game. Good Lord. Hurricanes evening it up. Wow. We're back for another session here today. Got some stuff to go over, and we're going to make this Friday a good one. Peter is first here today. Good morning, Peter. Welcome. It's good to see you again. Welcome back. Richard Judge, good morning. Happy Friday trading. Indeed, it is going to be happy. Friday is Friday around here. The only rule this show really has is no negativity. And on Friday, we just exude positivity. So that's what we're going to do here today. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Derek, good morning. Welcome back. Derek says, already a good day. Derek, let's go. That is exactly the type of attitude that we need and want every single day. Welcome, buddy. Welcome. Cab Monkey, good morning. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Best Life, good morning. Good to see you again. Yes, That Girl, good morning. Welcome back. Zach McCracken, good morning. Welcome back. I guess good afternoon to you. Greeting to the Benzie gang, all set for a Friday and then swimming all weekend. You're going to be tired. Swimming is a very exhausting sport, but that should be fun. Where are you swimming? Any place awesome? Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Yeah, that's right. Monaco Free Practice 1 is today. The Monaco races this weekend. Thanks for the reminder. I forgot about that. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Welcome back. Azrar, good morning. Welcome back. Josh, good morning. Welcome back. Free Diddy tomorrow, good morning. Some of y'all will roll a contract 3 times and secure $30, but you won't hit the like. Please hit the like. It's a free and easy way to help us out. And now we've got creative people like Free Diddy tomorrow coming up with good comments for that. There you go. Smash up that like for all of us here today. Kelly, good morning. Welcome back. It's great to see you. Derek says the good day was Merlin. Okay, MRLN. That did dip to what, 7s yesterday? Closed at like the low 7s. Back in the 9s here today. Let's go. Barb, good morning. It's good to see you again. Welcome back. AC, good morning. Tyler, good morning. Tyler, how excited are you for game 2 of the next game? How excited are you? Are you like, you have, I would imagine for Friday night, you got plans with a Z, like super plans. Let me know. That's good stuff. We'll see. Barb says, anyone take advantage of the new margin rules? I'm assuming you're talking about the PDT rule and then also some of the different clearing rules that were changed in that. Let us know. I'm still expecting more of that next week, by the way. Daniel, lurking nerd alert. Thank you. No problem. Lurking is totally acceptable here. I hope that you find it enjoyable, but also don't forget, don't be shy. If you have feedback or something you want us to cover, let us know. Brandy, good morning. Brandy Jr. I don't know. Is that the same Brandy? A different Brandy? Nonetheless, it's a Brandy. Welcome back, Brandy. Cameron, good morning. Welcome back. 3D in the house. Friday. What do you got planned for the weekend, 3D? Just passing through, good morning. Welcome back. Whis, good morning. Welcome back. Whis, what do you have? What golf are you playing this week? Lance, good morning. Welcome back. Brian, good morning. Welcome back. Brian's ready for the Nick game too. Let's go. Alvin, good morning. Duty, good morning. Reginald, good morning. Uchi Bang Bang. Oh, let's go. Good morning. Janie, it's good to see you again. Good morning. Rooster, good morning. Welcome back. Kanjalia, good morning. Welcome back. Izzy in the house. Let's go. Robot to Trade, good morning. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Scott, good morning. Sergeant Sexy. Sergeant Sexy rooting for the Spurs here. Let's go. Fight night. Here we go. Kimosabi, good morning. Welcome back. Cam, good morning. Brandy, it is the same. The one and only Brandy. That's what we'll call you. Welcome back. And Graf, Good morning. Welcome back. All right, folks, let's go ahead and just dive in, get started with our stock market today. All right, futures mixed ahead of Friday's open here. S&P futures down 0.52%. The Dow is up 0.1 plus 0.10, and the Nasdaq leading the way lower here, minus 1.18%. So a little bit of a mixed open here. All of that could get reshuffled as soon as we get the jobs number that comes out here in 24 minutes. We'll bring that to you as soon as it comes out. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and take a look at some cues from last session, as well as what might be going on today. Sectors on the S&P 500 closed mostly higher, with healthcare, financials, and communication services stocks recording the biggest gains on Thursday, while information technology and consumer staple stocks closed the session lower. U.S. stock futures are mixed on Friday as the Nasdaq and S&P fell and the Dow index gained, following the mixed close on Thursday. Following an Oval Office coal policy announcement, President Trump stated he would consider meeting Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Muttaba Khamenei if diplomacy progresses. Quote, "If we make a deal, it's possible that I would meet." He goes on to say, "I'd be okay with that," end quote. His comments come amid mixed signals from negotiators as the U.S.-Iran conflict enters its fourth month under a fragile ceasefire. Worth pointing out that this is now much longer than he initially projected. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.46%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.03%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show the markets are pricing a 96.4% likelihood that the Federal Reserve leaves the current interest rates unchanged during the June meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today, and the first one is an obvious one. It is Lululemon, and boy, oh boy, is this thing in trouble. Lululemon, ticker LULU, dropped 11.82% in the pre-market on Friday after the company reported its first quarter revenue ahead of expectations, but missed the earnings estimate and announced disappointing guidance. More on Lulu coming up here shortly. The next stock in our list is going to be DocuSign, and the ticker is DOCU. It tumbled 4.73% after it reported inline guidance, despite reporting its first quarter fiscal 2027 results higher than expected. The next stock on our list is going to be Samsara, and the ticker is IOT. It declined by 5.14% despite beating first quarter earnings, as its revenue guidance for the second quarter was below Wall Street expectations. The next stock on our list is going to be Keith Infrastructure. Ticker is Keel. It's Keel Infrastructure, and the ticker is Keel, K-E-E-L. It fell by 8.94% after announcing a proposed offering of $350 million convertible senior notes. The last stock on our list, here you go, Derek, is Merlin, ticker MRLN, and it jumped 24.97% following the successful completion of the Critical Design Review, or CDR, for the company's C-130J autonomy program, a joint development initiative with the U.S. Special Operations Command, or U.S. SOCOM. All right, we're going to address one comment here first because it's absolutely insane. Izzy says, time to let go of the Lulu pants, Ryan. Never. You can have them when you pry them from my cold, dead fingers because they are the most comfortable pants in the world. And that is not a reflection of the what's going on at the company, but love you is. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart here. We are still up near all-time highs. We'll see if we end up pulling back a little bit here. Price is currently $753.78 in the pre-market. If we take a look inside, this is what it looks like. So we closed on the high yesterday. We drifted a little bit lower with some of the earnings reports that we got. And today we actually came in just a tad. And I mean like just a tad. I tend to think that this early pre-market action is not going to matter because I would imagine whatever comes out with the jobs print will determine where we're going despite us being a little bit lower. I also think if we get some really good news here, or let's put it this way, if we get some news that the market really rewards, I do actually think that we can try the 758 high, intraday high from yesterday. And of course, that puts the all-time high of 760.40 on deck next. So a lot's going to depend on the number, at least for the early performance here in SPY. That's what I would look for. As far as the downside levels, they're actually the same as they have been. 750 for sure is going to be one. We might have one here around 751. We'll see. 752.5 is the pre-market low, so maybe some of those come into play here today. But the big one, I think, is going to be 750, and then also the 20-day moving average, which is down here at 745.70. Maybe even call that 746 if you want. But that's what I got there for the SPY. Let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. Scott Wren, senior global market strategist at Wells Fargo Investment Institute, warned that a, quote, performance roller coaster ride, end quote, is underway across the U.S. stock market and the economy. Triggered by U.S. military action against Iran, extreme volatility has gripped stocks, oil prices, and treasury yields. Wren highlights that while the S&P 500 continuously hits record highs, intense churn persists beneath the surface. A prime example is the information technology sector, which surged 45.2% in the second quarter after a poor first quarter showing. On the economic front, supply restrictions threaten to worsen global crude shortages by summer. Consequently, Wren cautions that, quote, the longer the diplomatic impasse is drawn out over the next month or two, the more persistent U.S. and global inflation should be, end quote. Failing negotiations could also push the 10-year Treasury yield significantly higher than its 4.45%. Even if a peace agreement is reached immediately, Wren believes, quote, inflation figures to be a part of the outlook for the rest of the year, end quote. To navigate this environment, he advises investors to target sectors capable of passing higher input costs to customers, which favors utilities, industrials, financials, and aerospace and defense. As mentioned here for the economic data, U.S. employment and unemployment rate for May, along with the monthly hourly wage data, will all be out by 8:30. April's consumer credit report will be released by 3. And on Saturday, Federal Reserve Governor Michael Barr will speak at noon Eastern. Noon Eastern. All right. Let's talk about Lululemon here. You know the guy named it Lululemon, right? Yes. That's what I said, I think, question mark. All right, let's take a look at this actual report. We'll go through it. In fact, you know what? Let's start with the chart. I'm sorry. We should start with the chart on some of these earnings, folks, here. So here's what it looks like. As you can see by our chart, Lulu has been in a downtrend since the end of 2023. Now, we did have this pretty thick consolidation area that we extended all the way across. We did this back here in September of last year. We actually got a really nice bounce off of this level. We had what the makings of like a triple or quadruple bottom that caused the stock to bounce up to the 200. But boy, that inability to clear out the 200-day caused the stock to roll over. I can actually extend this here. We actually went right through this support area. We're still in the channel. So this to me sure looks like we're going lower. Next levels we have here, we actually had 115 yesterday in the after hours. We've actually already lost that here, 112.20 in the pre-market. This is what it looks like. We did try and bounce here a little bit. So maybe watching 110 would be an area here today. But ultimately, if this keeps up, we're thinking 85 is actually in the cards. Here's that level, and that level goes all the way back to a previous resistance level back before COVID. All right, so this stock... if you're going to play this to the upside here, good luck and Godspeed. I think the smarter move, perhaps we can ask Mark Putrino about this, the smarter move might be to wait for this to kind of confirm that things are firming up over there. But let's take a look at the report. Lululemon reported first quarter revenue of $2.47 billion, which beat the consensus of $2.43 billion, according to Benzinga Pro. The company posted first quarter earnings of $1.69 per share, which narrowly missed the estimates of $1.70 per share. Total revenue was up 4% on a year-over-year basis as American net revenue decreased 3% and international revenue climbed 22%. Total comparable sales increased 1% year-over-year, and that was boosted by international growth. Inventories were up 2% year over year to 1.7 billion. Lululemon's total store count was at 816 at quarter's end after opening 5 new company-operated stores during the quarter. Lululemon exited the quarter with approximately 1.5 billion in cash and cash equivalents. Quote, our work to drive improvements in North America resulted in some positive signals in the quarter, including a sequential improvement in full price sales, end quote. That came from Megan Fink, interim CEO and CFO of Lululemon. Goes on to say, quote, more recently, we have been navigating headwinds that have led us to adjust our outlook for the full year. We have addressed the business and are taking additional actions to reposition where needed and further strengthen our product engine, end quote. Lululemon expects second quarter revenue of 2.45 billion to 2.48 billion versus the estimates of 2.6 billion. The company anticipates second quarter earnings of 176 to 181 per share, and that's versus an estimate of 271 per share. Big miss there. Lululemon also lowered its full year outlook. The company now expects full year revenue of 11 to 11.5 billion, and that was down from a prior guide of 11.35 to 11.5 billion. Lululemon now anticipates full year earnings of 10.95 to 11.15 per share, and that's down from the prior guide of 12.10 to 12.30 per share. Lululemon's outlook for both revenue and earnings is well below consensus analyst estimates. As for the conference call, the tone was defensive but controlled. Management repeatedly acknowledged the problems directly, avoided sounding panicked, and emphasized urgency, discipline, and action plans, which helped keep the call from sounding outright alarmist. However, compared with the previous quarter, this call sounded materially more negative. So I would love to get an opinion from you folks on what you think Lululemon is going to do. It is, and it's not just us. I got another story here on Lululemon. We talked about Michael Burry liking Lululemon here, but let me know if you folks have any type of trade on this or trade idea on this. I'm definitely curious. Let me continue here just a little bit more with Lululemon. As the shares plummeted 11% in after-hours trading, which is crashing to their lowest price since 2018 after slashing full-year guidance due to softening traffic and product missteps. The athletic apparel giant reported first quarter revenue of 2.47 billion, which slightly beat the consensus but narrowly missed earnings expectations of 169 per share. Now, the sell-off intensified after management significantly lowered its second quarter and full outlook. Now, according to data, let me scroll down here to it. According to data visualized in an X post by Bar Chart, the post-market collapse wiped out years of gains and dragged the stock down to levels not seen in 8 years. The company now expects full-year revenue between 11 and 11.15 billion. That was down from the 11.5 we just talked about. Interim CEO and CFO Megan Frank attributed the guidance cut to recent execution issues, stating, quote, more recently, we've been navigating headwinds that have led us to adjust our outlook for the full year. And that's putting it mildly. The downturn puts high-profile institutional investors at immediate loggerheads. Regulatory filings revealed Lululemon as a high-conviction contrarian pick for big short investor Michael Burry, who previously doubled his stake in the company, betting on a deep valuation gap. Burry historically dismisses the 2025 retail sell-off as mere window dressing for a premium brand like Lululemon. Conversely, prominent hedge fund manager Gary Black issued a stark warning following the print. Black expressed long-standing criticism of the company's corporate governance and marketing position. Here is his tweet. Quote, Lulu is minus 11 in the after hours after cutting its revenue and earnings guidance. And he continued to say, the revolving door of CEOs over the past 5 years and intense competition from Viore, Alo, and Skims with little or no product differentiation, end quote. To rebuild momentum, Lululemon is increasing its marketing spend and shifting store strategies. Management plans to reduce store SKUs by 15% for a less dense product presentation, while aggressively expanding its chase capabilities by 20% to react faster to consumer trends. So, look, the product itself, at least from what I know, it's good, but it's falling out of favor. And of all of this, the one thing that has me really kind of questioning when they're going to be able to turn this around. We talked about this in the happy hour call yesterday, and we've talked. This is not the first time we've talked about Lululemon. There's a lot of folks that are familiar with Lululemon, but all of the women that offered their content or comments on this said this is simply not popular anymore. Other brands like Viore, not only do they make good clothes, but they actually make clothes that these people want to wear. Lululemon might be focusing on the wrong market, according to some of these. And, it would be one thing if there was one opinion on one side and another on the other, but that was not the case. It was 100% consistent across the board. Lululemon is losing this battle. And can they turn it around? Well, sure. But I'm not sure yet what that's going to take. And I'm not sure that the time is now. Let's see if we go ahead and print those 80s or 85s. All right. Lion says, good morning here. Excellent timing for Lion, because I know he doesn't care about Lululemon clothing, but he absolutely loves copper and he absolutely loves Freeport-McMoRan. And so this next story here is actually about copper. NVIDIA's CEO says AI's future isn't just copper, although it's very, very important. One of Wall Street's favorite commodity narratives is the link between copper and AI demand. The demand logic flow is simple. AI requires enormous data centers. Data centers require enormous amounts of copper. Therefore, copper demand will keep rising. Lion, let me know if that tracks along with you. On the other hand, rising capex, lower grades, and a lack of new large discoveries are hurting the supply side. It looks like a double whammy that guarantees success, yet reality is far more complicated. While forecasts from S&P Global suggest copper demand from data centers and related infrastructure could rise from 1.1 million metric tons in 2025 to 2.5 million by 2040, those projections often assume a relativistic static technological environment. In practice, AI infrastructure is evolving rapidly, shifting towards less copper-intensive solutions. The bullish argument begins with a valid observation of how metal-intensive AI facilities are. According to S&P Global, a crypto data center requires roughly 21 metric tons of copper per megawatt of installed capacity, while an AI training center can require as much as 47 metric tons. The difference reflects denser wiring, larger cooling systems, and dramatically higher power requirements. However, the difference between the announcements and the actual deployment is considerable. The concept of bragawatts is increasingly present in 2026 as capacity figures look impressive in investor presentations, yet face a substantial reality check in practice. Reuters reported that Ireland imposed a de facto moratorium on new data centers after the sector ballooned to more than 20% of the national electricity demand. Policy interference and infrastructure constraints also limit the thesis of exponential expansion for copper. The second flaw in copper's super cycle narrative is the engineers are actively trying to reduce metal usage. AI economics reward efficiency, and NVIDIA and other industry leaders are redesigning power architectures to move more energy with less material. NVIDIA's solution is a transition to 800 volts, where the same wire gauge can transmit around 157% more power. With fewer conductors, smaller connectors, and simpler designs, performance would be even better with less copper per rack. Quote, you use optics wherever you must, and you use copper wherever you can, end quote. That came from NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, and he said that at the trade show in Taipei, according to the Wall Street Journal. Contrary to claims that copper will suddenly become obsolete, Huang argues for a hybrid model. Copper remains a practical, inexpensive, and proven technology within certain distances and bandwidth limits. Existing infrastructure will continue relying heavily on it for years, and he noted that copper will continue to play an important role in infrastructure even as the use of optical devices expands rapidly in the coming years. This coexistence model creates opportunities for firms positioned across both ecosystems. Huang has repeatedly highlighted Marvell Technologies, ticker MRVL, as a key beneficiary because it supplies networking technologies that bridge traditional copper-based systems and advanced optical interconnects. Copper's transmission distance is inversely proportional to bandwidth. Today's leading 200 gigabits per channel copper system starts to lose signal after only about 2.5 meters. Since modern server racks are about 2 meters tall, the margin is already becoming rather small. Matt Murphy, CEO of Marvell, said copper cables will be unable to support complete rack connectivity as systems migrate to 400 gigabit speeds. As bandwidth requirements continue climbing, electrical signals weaken faster and generate more heat. At some point, physics overwhelms economics. Fiber optics and silicon photonics have become necessary rather than optional because they enable the transmission of data over far greater distances with minimal degradation. Eventually, it doesn't mean that the copper thesis is dead. One way or another, AI will increase copper demand. Still, the assumption of an unlimited copper supercycle ignores the realities of grid constraints, deployment delays, and relentless engineering innovation. I might also add physics to that, because this is just how electricity works. So I think the takeaway here is that copper is still going to be used, but as we've already seen with some of the optical and photonic stocks, those are going to be gangbusters, and those eventually are perhaps going to be even more important. Marcus says, plenty of copper and optics needed for the AI build. And I think that's going to be the case too. The question is really going to be, how do these stocks perform in the meantime? All right, let's check in on the time. 3 minutes till data print. Producer, help me out if I'm still rolling here with the news. And we'll get that data print out, and we'll get Mark Putrino out here as well. Okay. Next stock here is going to be about Samsara. The ticker is IoT on this. Samsara says AI data center boom is creating a massive demand across the physical economy. I guess there's no surprise there. Samsara Incorporated, ticker IoT. The stock fell in pre-market trading on Friday despite the company reporting first quarter results that topped Wall Street estimates, and they even raised their full year outlook. The connected operations platform company reported adjusted earnings of 17 cents per share, which beat the estimate of 13 cents. Revenue climbed 31% year over year to $478.8 million, exceeding the consensus estimate of $455.2 million. On a constant currency basis, revenue increased 29%. Adjusted operating margin expanded to 19% from 14% a year earlier, driven by improved efficiency across sales and marketing, research and development, and general and administrative expenses. CEO and co-founder Sanjit Biswas said Samsara delivered a strong first quarter with annual recurring revenue nearing $2 billion and the company remaining profitable on a GAAP earnings per share basis for a third straight quarter. He added that growing labor constraints across customer operations are creating demand for the company's AI-powered tools, which are designed to automate tasks, improve productivity, and help physical industries operate more efficiently. Samsara said the rapid build-out of AI data centers is driving investment across the physical economy, including power generation, cooling infrastructure, and grid updates. The company said these trends are creating growing demand for the industries it serves and should continue to support long-term growth. Annual recurring revenue, or ARR, let me center the story here for you, or ARR reached approximately $2 billion, and that was up 30% from a year earlier. Net new ARR totaled $100.7 million, also rising 30% or 27% on a constant currency basis. ARR from customers spending more than $100,000 annually increased 37% to $1.2 million, marking the third consecutive quarter of accelerating growth. ARR from customers generating more than $1 million annually surged 62%, extending a four-quarter acceleration trend. Emerging products contributed more than 20% of net new annual contract value for the second straight quarter. Samsara signed 11 new deals worth more than $1 million in net new annual contract value, its second strongest quarter on record. The company ended the quarter with 3,363 customers generating more than $100,000 in ARR and 190 customers generating more than $1 million in ARR. Samsara raised its fiscal 2027 adjusted earnings outlook to 70 cents to 72 cents per share from a prior range of 65 to 69 cents. The updated forecast exceeds the analyst expectations of 68 cents. The company also increased its fiscal 2027 revenue guidance to $2.005 billion to $2.013 billion. That was above the street estimate of $1.971 billion and its previous forecast of $1.965 to $1.975 billion. For the second quarter, Samsara expects adjusted earnings of 15 cents to 16 cents per share on revenue of $482 million to $484 million, both largely in line with or above analyst expectations. Okay, it is 7:31. Looks like we've got the data print out. Looks like the market is sinking slightly on it. Let's take a look at what that is. U.S. non-farm payrolls for May, 172K versus the 85K estimate. That number coming in hot. U.S. average hourly earnings month over month for May in line at 0.3 versus a 0.3 estimate. U.S. unemployment rate for May, 4.3 versus the 4.3 estimate, and the prior read was 4.3. That is in line. And U.S. non-farm payrolls for May revises the prior from 115,000 to 179,000. S&P futures ticking lower here, now down 0.62%. The Dow has actually moved from green to red, and the NASDAQ continues to probe the lows. Okay. Let's bring on Mark Putrino and let's see how he is doing here. It is Friday. You know what that means. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Yes, sir. How are you, Ryan?
I'm good. Look, I got a little sidetracked there because I wanted to ask you before we start on the stock stuff. I know you're a big history guy, and I appreciate that a lot. Have you checked out the World War II series with Tom Hanks on the History Channel that's going on right now for the 250th anniversary of America?
Is it new?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
It is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Great look into World War II. I know it's a huge event that everyone studied, but the program is very, very well done. I would check it out. For a history buff like you, I would check it out. I'd love to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think just as people, we should just really count our blessings that we don't have to go. I mean, we don't have to go fight in a war somewhere.
You got that right.
Both my grandfathers served, and they weren't men; they were boys, man. They were like 20 years old, and my grandfather was in the Marine Corps with 21 guys in his platoon. Only him and one other guy came back. All the other guys got killed.
I mean, that's just
pretty amazing stuff.
It's amazing. What's amazing is that those people are able to live with that burden. In some cases, very, very long lives. Just really crazy.
Yeah,
really crazy stuff. But anyway, check out that program. It's very, very well done. Everyone that is created that should be proud of themselves.
Yeah, I've been to get ready for the 250th. I've been reading a lot about the founding fathers and the Constitutional Convention and so forth. And it's just really interesting. There's all these people in our history that no one's ever heard of that are so important. Like Thomas Willing was the president of the first bank of the United States. He did as much as almost any of the founding fathers, but he's not remembered because he didn't sign the Declaration of Independence, right? Then there's Gouverneur Morris. He's the guy who wrote the "We the People" in order to form a more perfect union. Who's even heard of him, right?
I haven't, and I've quoted that a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Saw on CNBC, there's actually a copy of the Declaration of Independence on sale with Golden. They expect it to fetch between $4 and $6 million. But
I'll bet it gets more.
Yeah, it's. I guess it was one of those that they sent out early. It's not like the actual one, but it was displayed in New Hampshire, and it's really crazy history. Okay, thanks for the trip down history lane there, Mark. What do you got for the stock market for us here?
Well, let's talk about.
Do you want to share your charts?
Oh yeah, am I sharing here?
See, that's what we do. I got them all. I got them all into the history there, and I started asking questions, and we just got sidetracked. That's how it goes sometimes. Here you go. What do you got?
All right. Well, I want to talk about an old Wall Street phrase or adage: "The market climbs a wall of worry." I remember someone told me that years and years and years ago, and I didn't really know what they meant, but it's kind of what's going on right now. If people are still worried, there's money on the sidelines, and they watch the market go up, and it's a positive feedback loop, and eventually they keep putting money in it and so forth and so on. So when people are worried, it's actually good for the market. So ironically enough, like pretty much everything about trading is counterintuitive. Um, People think the war was going to be a bad thing for the market, but it's actually a good thing because it's keeping money on the side. It's keeping people skeptical and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So, we always got to just watch the market and get our signal from the market and try to come up with our own ideas. And well, speaking of our own ideas, I guess I'll show you some of my ideas.
Perfect. That's a really good segue. It's like you planned that.
All right, just a couple things that I'm looking at here for a potential reversal trade. I like AT&T, and I'm sure you could see why, right? So big sell-off. Now, an interesting thing about markets is if you come into a support level really steeply like that and you rebound, there's a good chance you rebound really quickly as well. And the reason for that is because one of the main reasons in a market why we get resistance is buyer remorse. People buy and then the price goes down and they say, oh, darn it, I shouldn't have done that. If I could ever get out at break even, I will. So when it gets back up to the level that had been support, it turns into a resistance level because of all the buyers from here placing sell orders here. Now, when you gap or you move really quickly through levels like this, that's another old Wall Street saying that is based on reality. Gaps tend to refill. When you move through these levels, there are people buying, but there's just not that many because you just drop through these levels so quickly. So on the way back up, you're not going to have this big group of remorseful buyers trying to sell. So the buyers that come into the market are going to have a hard time finding sellers, or they're going to have to jack the price up. So if you come into a support level like that, there's a good chance you come out of it like that. If you come in it like that, there's a good chance you come out of it like that. So it's the same dynamics, but because it spent more time at these levels, there's going to be more remorseful buyers trying to sell on the way up. So the move will probably be slower. So that's one thing I'm looking at. Also, Verizon, not surprisingly, because these guys are so similar, this might be something to look at too here. So we got a really oversold thing. So how would you, when you get a stock like this, you don't want to just buy it because it's down. You won't, because it could keep going down. Just because it's oversold and at support doesn't mean it can't keep going lower. So what you want to do is wait for the reversal to start. So if I see a stock like this or AT&T, I consider it set up. It's like I'm at the race and the starter has said, on your mark, get set, but they haven't said go yet. The go is in trading. What would be the trigger? What makes you actually buy the stock or the option or whatever? So that go could be if this RSI line turns higher, because if it keeps going down, that's not going to happen. And the similar thing with AT&T. And to go back to yet another Wall Street expression, you don't want to catch the fallen knife. You want to wait for it to start rebounding and then jump in. So the same thing could be said here. If the RSI line turns higher, then that might be the time to get in. Also, coin looks kind of interesting for another reversal. Probably not as interesting, but we're pretty much sitting right on this line here, right on the lower end of the support, like right there. So, might get some kind of a reversal here, maybe depending on what Bitcoin does. Let's see what Bitcoin's up to.
And I got whenever we get to a spot here for it, I got a stock that's selling off that I'd like you to take a look at. I actually kind of teased it a little bit before you came on today.
Okay. All right. Well, I got just one more thing for, now this wouldn't be a reversal idea. This is what we call a breakout. So we want to, the entry points on either a reversal or a breakout is you want to get it going on the way up, like I just said, because if this starts to reverse, this Bitcoin, I mean, you could say the same thing here. If this starts to reverse, you can infer that the sellers who pushed the stock down are gone. They're finished. They're out of the way. So then the buyers come in, the market's going to be out of equilibrium in the opposite direction here. Now, on a breakout idea, like Eli Lilly, okay, the reason why a breakout is considered to be a bullish dynamic is because resistance is this large group of sellers. If you can get above that resistance and stay above it, you can infer that the sellers are gone. So whether you're buying a reversal or a breakout, you're kind of catching it on the way up. So you can have some assurance that the sellers who pushed the thing down or who created this resistance are out of the way. So just a couple of things there, reversals, breakouts. People ask me all the time, do I care about earnings and EBITDAs and this and that and the other thing? And the answer is I really don't. My analogy is my oft used market analogy, where it's the Middle Ages. You got this little village where all the farmers come to sell their crops, and all the people from all around go in there to buy goods. And there's only one road in and out of town. And one day a merchant puts a spy on the road, and that spy notices something. Oh, look at that. On a typical day here, we get 25 cartloads of apples. But today, for some reason, there's only 5. I don't care what the reason is. I'm not going to question it. But to me, I see a market that looks like it's going to be out of equilibrium. Mm-hmm. So they go in and they buy up all the apples. And when the people come and the price goes up, they turn around and sell them at a higher price. So it has nothing to do with the apples. It could be pumpkins, it could be whatever, celery. It's just they recognize that there's a market that was going to be out of equilibrium, and markets that are out of equilibrium return to equilibrium. Remember, this is a market, right? And it's supply and demand, and we got to think in terms of like equilibriums and so forth. So even if you see something like this sideways range, it's the buyers overdo it, the sellers overdo it, the buyers overdo it. It's this continuous reversion to the mean.
I got a really quick question about equilibrium there. When the market is out of equilibrium, to me, it feels like this is like a pendulum effect, right? Like it swings from out of equilibrium. There might be a brief period where it is in equilibrium, and then it swings to the other side in some cases.
Exactly.
And that constantly happens. So this equilibrium that we talk about, I almost want to say it's mythical in some cases, because the stock rarely stays at that area, right?
Yeah, it's emotions, because the buyers overdo it, the sellers overdo it, then the buyers overdo it. But one thing you can do is, if you get a situation like this, where you get something that's really overbought and you're wondering, gee, where should I sell this thing? Well, when the RSI line starts to turn lower, that kind of tells you the equilibrium is shifting back to normal, which could be the first step to it being out of equilibrium in the other direction. And that's exactly what happened here.
All right. I want to ask you real quick. You talked about just a second ago, you were talking about a stock coming in, selling off, and maybe it'll turn around, but kind of waiting for the RSI or waiting for the on your market set and the actual trigger itself. Can we take a quick look at Lululemon, ticker LULU? The stock has been in a downtrend since 2023. They just reported poor earnings. I think the 110 is a support area. It looks like it's trying to hold that today. We'll see if it's successful in doing that. But what do you think here in Lululemon? What would it take for you? You have to go all the way back, 2023. I mean, it's a good ways. What would it take for you to say, you know what, this is setting up for a potential long side trade?
The same thing. I mean, this is the type of thing I like to look at here. So it's really oversold. We got to this level here. I would agree. And now, again, I would say, all right, well, if the RSI line turns higher, so we're going to be right kind of around here. So is the support going to break? I mean, we don't know. But if the RSI line eventually turns higher, whether it's today or Monday or Tuesday, that could be a signal for entry. That's the way I would look at it.
Okay. So we basically want to hold that, because I agree. Lion here in the chat says it looks weak. Yes, it does. And it has looked weak from some time. So what I'm trying to figure out here, Lion, is where can we realistically take a educated stab at a long side trade on this? We don't want to catch a falling knife in a weak downtrend. We want to wait for that to turn around. That's what I was trying to get at there.
All right. Another thing I want to kind of point out is this PMI report. It used to be called the PMI, Purchase and Managers Index. Now they call it the ISM report. But regardless, this is a free report, and you can get pretty good insight on here. Actually, you get really good insight. So for a long time, for years, the United States manufacturing part of the economy was in recession. Now, if we look at these numbers down here, the way this is calculated is that anything above 50 shows growth, and anything below it shows shrinkage. So for years, maybe 3, 4, 5 years, this was in recession. And in January, we finally came out of it. And look at this number that just came in, 54. So that shows that there's a lot of strength out there in this part of the economy. But unfortunately, excuse me, unfortunately, what it's doing is creating this inflation. So look at all these commodities that are up in price here. I mean, I guess this is all oil related, but oil does seem to be coming in a little bit.
Yeah,
So
it came in yesterday. Let's see how it's doing here today, actually. Oh, come on, mouse. Don't get lost. Oil down another 0.5% here today.
Yeah, so it's kind of settled down, I guess, a little bit. We got this little kind of a maybe a potential descending triangle kind of starting to form here.
Mhm.
So these can be pretty reliable patterns. The descending triangle pattern. This shows that the buyers are kind of just hanging out, and they're like, if the sellers come, that's fine. If not, we don't care. But at the same time, the sellers are getting increasingly aggressive. They're willing to come in at lower prices. So this pattern is a graphical illustration of aggressive sellers and complacent buyers. So regardless of the market, that sets the stage for a move lower. I don't really pay attention to too many patterns, but these ascending and descending triangles tend to be pretty reliable. And as a matter of fact, there was a really classic one that's going to go in my book one day, um, in the tech sector, that kind of told us that this support was going to break. Just, again, buyers are just like, yeah, whatever. The sellers are aggressive, and the sellers eventually just overpower the buyers, and just knock the stock down. I mean, in this case, the ETF.
Now, what
But
caused it to bounce like that? Look at that bounce.
just oversold, really, really bad sentiment. Got to a former support level. Yeah, I mean, we tend to find support at former support levels. And what's really interesting is if you go, I love showing people this chart because I just think it really emphasizes how much of a psychological game this is. It's not about artificial intelligence or social
High frequency
media.
trading.
It's still a market, right? And back in the 1800s, they didn't have all that stuff. But look at what we have: support at former support levels. Things get oversold, they get to former support, and they bounce. So some things change, but maybe the names change, maybe the people change, but the game is always the same. And down here on Wall Street, it's pretty interesting.
Human psychology, it turns out, does not change, and that is reflected in all of these charts, no matter the year.
Maybe things happen faster now. I think they happen too fast, frankly, because there's so many different exchanges and venues out there. In the 100 years ago, everything traded at the New York Stock Exchange, so you knew what was going on. Now there's like 80 different venues. When people talk about dark pools, like all a dark pool is a private stock exchange. So if you're a really big broker, you have a dark pool because you want to execute your trades in house, so you don't have to pay anyone else to do them. So if anyone out there, retail trader, institutional, whatever, you call up Charles Schwab and you say, hey, buy me 1,000 shares of XLK. It could go right into their dark pool. So a lot of retail people think like, oh, only institutions have access to dark pools, but that's really not true. So we just have all this fragmentation, and people say to me all the time, like, hey, Mark, I had a bid to buy the stock at 20. It traded at 19, and now it's at 21. Why didn't my order get filled? Why would someone sell it at 19 if I was willing to pay 20? And the answer is, well, whatever venue that broker was in was not linked up with the venue that your broker is in. So you have this fragmentation. It's almost like I use an analogy of if you go into a little town and there's like 10 shoe stores and you go into the first one and you see a pair of shoes you like, they're $100 and you buy them. Well, maybe across town there was someone who was willing to sell those same shoes for 95, but you didn't know it. If all those stores combined to one big shoe store, you would have much more price discovery, which is what we will call it. But anyway, I don't think anyone's going to listen to me, so I'm not going to worry about it. I don't think we're going back to the New York Stock Exchange anytime soon.
I think you're probably right. You're probably right about that. Marcus, I love that you're pretty much on this quote here. Marcus saying we have a 10-week streak. It would be the longest streak since the 80s. It's actually 1985. We had a 12-week streak. That's a great stat. Heard it this morning on CNBC. There you go.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
All right. Were there any other stocks that you wanted to look at here today, Mark?
No, let's just take some questions.
Okay. Group, do you have any questions or stocks that you would like Mark to break down here? Let's see if there were any here mentioned earlier. I don't think you guys wanted Visa to be broken down. We already took a look at Lululemon. You know what, Mark? I guess we could look at Tesla if you wanted, but do you have any thoughts on this upcoming SpaceX IPO?
Excuse me. Yes, I actually do. From overall macro picture, these IPOs tend to boom a lot when markets are at market tops
Hmm.
because think about it, right? If if Elon Musk and his crew over there thought the market was going to keep moving higher, they would probably put off the IPO. They're putting the IPO out there because to them it's a good deal, and they might think like, gee, well, we're going to raise $1.75 million, but we know this company is only worth, or we know this company is only worth 1 trillion, right? They're selling it because they think the timing is good. So that's just something to consider. My guess is that it comes out, skyrockets for a couple days, and then kind of goes down, and maybe in a month after it's down like 50%. I mean, that seems to be what's happened on a lot of these other the mega caps when they come out. But I just think it's really cool. I mean, I was looking at their website, and you can apply to be on the mission to Mars. So I don't think I'm going to do that, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I don't think I'm going to do that either.
think of how far you can hit a golf ball up there, right?
That's a good point. Mark, I actually showed a graphic the other day. It had the 30 biggest IPOs recently,
Really?
and it showed that every single one of them had a max year one drawdown, not finishing performance, but a drawdown within that year of at least 35%. Some were as upwards of 80%.
Wow.
So as far as the IPO opening, coming back in and then going back up, that seems to be par for the course.
Yeah, one of the I'll tell you a little, not a secret, but how Wall Street like kind of really works. Being a being a portfolio manager is the easiest job on Wall Street, and it's also the hardest one to get. The portfolio manager is the person who decides what to buy and what to sell. But let's just say that I am, and this is what I used to work at firms that specialize in small cap. So let's just say you're a small cap manager, and your benchmark is the Russell 2000. Well, here's what you do. You basically create a quasi passive portfolio that looks kind of like that. And then if you pay the street enough commissions, every now and then something like SpaceX comes out, and
Mhm.
they say, "Oh, hey, thanks for doing all these commissions. Here's some SpaceX shares. This thing's going to skyrocket. Do whatever you want with them, but just don't sell them through us." And then they go up and they sell it through another firm, and it's like, it's like free money, right? And it's a way that the big firms that pay a lot of commissions have an advantage over the firms that don't. But if you stay in line with your benchmark, and then you get 2 or 3 IPOs every year, that'll put you like 1 or 2% ahead of the benchmark. And that's what you got to do, is not go for home runs and go for singles. This is in the institutional world, so it's a little
Yeah,
bit different than the retail world.
yeah, no doubt. All right, got a couple of stocks here. Let's start with this one. We've never looked at this before. SMOG, smog. This has got to be like a clean energy or something. Low carbon energy ETF. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is from Rooster.
Okay. Well, I would be kind of careful with this one. And just because the volume is so low, it only averages 2,500 shares a day, which is very, very low. I mean, the action looks good and everything, but it's just not very liquid.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying you shouldn't buy it. Just be aware of that. If you want to take a position of more than 1,000 shares, or even a couple hundred shares, you can influence influence the price. But other than that, I mean, it looks pretty cool. I love the names of all the symbols of these things.
Yeah. It looks to me like it's really kind of needs to break that high area up there. I don't have it on my chart, so I don't have the cursor.
Yeah, like right there,
Yeah,
150.
right, exactly. Exactly. That looks to be like a next key spot there that's going to need to take out. Okay. How about TLN? Tango Lima November.
Talent Energy Corp. What do we got here? I don't know. This one looks kind of range bound, neutral. For a trading idea, I don't see anything here because this is a market that's pretty much in equilibrium. It's just kind of going sideways.
Does
So
it
when
make any sense to trade that channel between 3 and 400?
well, let's see here. I mean, it's only 4%.
Yeah.
I guess it's possible, but it'd probably be kind of hard to do. But here's another example of what we kind of talked about before, right? When you come in to support slow, you rebound slow. when you come into support fast, you could rebound really fast. So this is a good example of what we had mentioned before.
Okay. Got a couple more here. Let's take a look at Marvell, Micron, and Google, if you don't mind. I can give those to you again, so I won't quiz you on them.
I wrote about Marvell yesterday.
That is a perfect place to start then.
Yeah. And what I was saying in my article yesterday when I wrote about this is to wait for the reversal to actually start before you jump in. Now, how would you know that the reversal is actually starting? I mean, we had this little bit of a fake out here, but one could be, all right, the RSI line turns lower. That's my sell. Two could be, all right, we close back below the upper Bollinger Band. That's my trigger to sell. A third could be the use of looking at important price levels. So yesterday's open was there. There's a lot of people who sold on yesterday's open that are now upset that they did because the price is higher. And a lot of them are probably going to say, well, if this drops back to my sell price, I'm going to buy my shares back. So there might be some support right around this level. So that would be three different ways to look at it, or maybe even a combination of them. You might say, all right, here's my trigger. If the RSI line turns down and the stock simultaneously closes back below the upper Bollinger Band, that's my trigger to start. So the idea is you're not going to catch the top, right? And you just want to wait for the reversal to start. And having something quantifiable as opposed to just guessing just makes it kind of easier. People lose money because they make bad decisions emotionally, and they do that because they guess. They guess because they don't have a strategy or a plan. It's easy to buy something, but it's hard to sell. So the most important part of an exit of a trading strategy is how you get out of it. I firmly believe you could buy random stocks, and if you have a good exit strategy, you could end up doing very well.
That is 100% true. That's interesting. I've actually never thought about it like that. A couple of things here real quick. Number one, Mark, do you think Starlink will benefit from the SpaceX IPO? My vote is yes.
I would think so. I'm not smart enough to figure out how.
Here's the simpleton way of thinking about it. This is what I use to come to my conclusion, by the way. Elon Musk told the wealthy investors at the JP Morgan virtual event yesterday that one of the reasons they wanted to go public is because they need a lot of money for growth. It's expensive and they need money and they want to tap the public markets for that. Who's going to benefit from that? Starlink. Starlink is going to benefit from that. They're going to use SpaceX rockets to put more Starlink satellites up there. I don't see how Starlink doesn't benefit from the SpaceX IPO, especially over the long run. That's just me.
Yeah, I would. You don't want to bet against Elon Musk. That's for sure.
That is absolutely for sure. Okay, we got less than a minute. Maybe Micron. I know that one was really popular. That's why I'm trying to squeeze it in here.
Okay. All right, Micron. So now let's think about this, right? When this RSI line turned lower, that was right there. So if you were using this as an exit strategy, you would have literally top ticked this. You would have sold it right up at there, which would have been pretty nice. And now this morning is down to 950. So it looks like this reversal here is underway. And I mean, this thing could drop back to $800 pretty easily. Like 815, 820. See, this is a resistance becomes support. So here, this is the opposite of what we talked about. When you make a fast move up, you can make a fast move down, just like coming off of a bottom.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing head a little bit lower. It just got extremely overbought. And then when you see a day like this, if a market's going sideways and you see one of these little kind of doji or spinning tops, I don't even know what you call them, it's kind of irrelevant. It doesn't really mean anything because we know the market is in equilibrium. If the open and the closing price are close or at the same price, the forces of supply and demand are equalized. Well, in a sideways market, we know that, so it doesn't mean anything. Now here, after we have this big uptrend, market's out of equilibrium, wham, all of a sudden, gee, look at that. The forces of supply and demand have equalized. That could be the first signal that we're about to shift the other way. A big part of understanding how to read chart patterns is where do they occur? like for example, a head and shoulders pattern. If a market's going sideways and it looks like a head and shoulders pattern, it's not a head and shoulders pattern. A head and shoulders pattern is a reversal pattern. It has to occur at the end of a trend. So that's just a kind of a thing to think about here, right? So if you know the market's in equilibrium, it's irrelevant, but here it might mean something. But anyway, I got to get going. I do have a 9 o'clock meeting. I got to jump in.
Mark, awesome stuff. Enjoy your weekend. Hit them straight, all right?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll see you all next week.
Always. Take care, Mark. That is Mark Putrino. Again, I will always recommend you please sign up for his Substack. It is awesome. He has a bunch of great content there for you. Okay, before we get 13 on here, I'm assuming he's going to be here pretty soon. But before we get him on here, we have street tweets, and I got an actionable one for you. All right, Lion, this one's for you. Our wonderful government that you say is just unbelievably corrupt. Well, we've got some more purchases here. This tweet here is about Josh Gottheimer, Representative Josh Gottheimer. I beg your pardon. We just caught some of the interesting new stock trades. He recently bought SanDisk, Micron, AMD, and Palo Alto. Oh, by the way, Gottheimer sits on the House subcommittee on AI, folks. So it says here you can see the full list with Quiver, but I've got something even better for you. You can actually see the full list with Benzinga Pro. Producer, do what you can to put my screen back up here. Boom. Here are Josh Gottheimer's recent purchases. And for those of you that are trying to take some screenshots because you want the content for free, you're lucky I'm in a good mood and it's Friday today. Here you go. Here are all of Josh's recent purchase sorted in chronological order with the most recent at the top. Don't forget, guy that sits on the AI subcommittee buying some of these AI stocks. What might we do with that? All right, producer. Let's go back to live trading here. And actually, we'll just go ahead and start up pre-market pulse right now. All right. Good morning, 13. Happy National Donut Day. What's your favorite?
Is it really?
Donut? Yes, it is.
I don't think I have a favorite. I mean, I'm kind of boring. I like the the sugar dusted ones, really.
And you know what? Color me boring too. I like a plain old glazed donut. That's arguably one of my favorites. So we got a powdered fan, we got a glazed fan. 13. I stopped eating donuts a while ago because, gosh, it just goes to my thighs. Okay. Anyway, what do you want to take a look at here today? Do we want to knock out movers? Do you have any individual names that you're looking for?
Sure, but I thought that you're bringing up Gottheimer's trades was interesting because there's another congresswoman that we've talked about recently, previously, April McLean Delaney. She's on an AI caucus, but she also is on the Commodity Markets, Digital Assets, and Rural Development Subcommittee. She's been buying NDAC because she knows that as soon as we get the Clarity Act passed and we start seeing tokenization of different assets, NDAC's going to probably end up doing very, very well. So she's been loading up on NDAC since last year. So
all right. Bonus 13's coming in hot. You want a bonus?
There's a bonus.
Here you go. For those of you that don't subscribe to Benzinga Pro, I have no idea what you're doing, but we love you anyway. Here is a free preview of the most recent trades made by April McLean Delaney and the stocks that she holds. Beep, boop. All right. Good stuff there, 13. You want to knock out these movers?
Let's do it.
All righty. Let's move over to the movers tab here. We will start with our MSG. This is Real Messenger. This popped in the after hours yesterday. It was a little bit volatile, but man, the big move on the big volume was made in the morning today. Stock is currently up 172%. I don't see anything here in the news feed. Let's see if we get anything from this article.
I don't think there is.
Yeah, I don't either. I've got something for this BGMS, but I don't have anything here for RMSG. It is a United States company, and it's up 171%. See if we can find anything. If the chat has anything, let me know. Yeah,
they're in. This is a an online marketplace. that connects home buyers and home sellers. I don't know if there's anything going on in the news right now that's causing that would cause this to go on its own, but that's what this does. It's basically a chat app for home buyers and home sellers.
Okay, 8.39% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover on average. The stock trades 14 million shares. It's traded 80 million here today, and it has a float of 3 million. So this is absolutely in the low float bucket. Looking at the chart here, 13, you tell me. It sure looks like we're coming into some resistance here. We'll see how much there is at the round number of 3, but honestly, it sure looks like what, 330, 375 after that? What say you?
Real quick, can you go to a 5-minute?
Yeah, absolutely, I can.
And can you draw a trend line from the after hours, that first impulse move in the after hours through the high that we just had at 373?
The high at 37. So first move in the after hours, right here, through here, bang, bang,
now zoom
bang.
in a little bit, because look at what's about to happen. We're coming up to that trend line right now. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see this price action. We're trying to come back above these levels. We're headed for 350. Anyway, just something I wanted to put on there while I talk about this. 3 million shares in the float. This just recently regained NASDAQ compliance almost a month ago. That was on May 7th. They had the minimum bid requirement that allowed them to regain. The company has no revenue, no cash. So with that in mind, there's going to likely be a capital raise at some point soon here, maybe as early as today. They just did the recompliance, so they're going to need cash. What happens after they do like a recompliance or reverse split? Capital raise usually happens. So for now, I have 378, that high. I think it actually looks like 373, but the 375 area is where I'm looking at for resistance. If we do come back in again, 250 and VWAP is what I have for support.
Okay. All right.
And it looks like this is trying to push up, and it's got the setup right now to try and push higher beyond 375. So this is something to watch for here, and maybe even if you want to try and trade it in the pre-market, it's up to you. But it looks like it's ready to try and make that next move up to 375 again.
Okay, good stuff there. RMSG. Next here, we're going to have BGMS, and this is BioGreen Med Solution. Now, we do have a catalyst here. BioGreen Med Solution shares are trading higher after the company announced it entered into a business combination agreement with Future NRG. Now, really quickly here, BGMS was previously Cyclacel Pharmaceuticals, and it's now a diversified group in Malaysia. It supplies and installs fire safety equipment and other PPE type things for commercial, industrial, and healthcare and residential customers. Future Energy, or NRG, is based tech integrator that project developer focused on sustainable medical waste management for clients. So it looks like what they're trying to do here is kind of roll these up. The stock's still trading. It's just a business combination. We take a look here at the short interest on this one. Negligible, less than 1%. In fact, just about 0.5%, 0.63%, 1 day to cover. I don't think we even need to pay attention to that. On average, it trades 500,000 shares. Today, it's traded 37.5 million shares, and that's versus a float of 4.2 million. Now, we have a pretty nice looking chart here, I think, or maybe not a nice looking chart, but we have a formation on here. I'm just kind of going to do something like this, and I would want to see which way it breaks out of this triangle.
Yeah, I've got that on there too. So it does look like it's traded up starting yesterday, into a symmetrical triangle. You can see from this price action that there's been these multiple attempts to try and get above, looks like 330. So we had this the first impulse that certainly got us above there. We whipped around a bit and we came back in. The next attempt, we only got as high as 329, and then the attempt after that, 327. So I'm thinking this 330 area is a pretty big area of resistance. Maybe 325, we could even say that. Just so we'll go with that range, 325, 330. But this is moving on to the business combination with Future NRG. It does have some revenue, about 1 to 2 quarters cash. So there is going to have to be a capital raise or some kind of financing happening here with this at some point soon. As far as the levels go, already pointed out that 325 to 330. If we do start to come back in, which it looks like we are, we are coming down to that 65 EMA. I think that's where we're going to see some support. If we do not get that support there, then this might not end up being a very good mover this morning. I think if we lose that 65 EMA, that's going to be a bit of a break of the trend and maybe even fall out of that symmetrical triangle that we just talked about. So I think that would be a little bit more bearish in my view if we started trading underneath that 65.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. BGMS. We'll see what we get from that. All right. Next here is going to be STI. And this is a continuation from yesterday.
I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you. I haven't looked at LULU, but Matt, is it really heading toward the 80s right now? Because that's insane. This is something we just talked about last night.
So I spent a good amount of time here on LULU. It's still at our 110 first. So we talked about 110 and we talked about 85, but at 13. But 13, I'm glad you mentioned it because let me just ask you, if we break 110, cannot close above it, where are we going next, buddy?
85.
Bingo. And now, Lion, you are also mentioning the 100 round level. Yes, definitely. Maybe you do get a quick bounce there. The longer term chart does, in fact, show 85 on that one. But good stuff there on LULU. We'll see how this trades here today. Actually, might have a trade on that. We'll see. Now, let me just get back to STI here real quick. And 13, no, it's fine. If you actually want to take an extended look at the LULU chart here, that would be perfect for me to go to the washroom. So we'll do that maybe next year. But STI,
well, I actually have BESS, BESS is my next one because we already looked at STI. We know we looked at this one yesterday. It's running again today.
Then I won't spend much time on it. Solid and technology shares are trading higher after the company announced patents in its lithium metal battery technology. Remember, this was a big mover for us yesterday, and there's just no universe in which I would have held this thing overnight if I had had this yesterday. But if you did, here we are higher today. We actually traded up in the 57 handle earlier. Wow. We've come back. We've lost the VWAP. We're currently trying to hold the 65 EMA. 13, you're absolutely right. We talked about this yesterday. Is there anything that you'd like to add, or should I move on?
Real quick, I think yesterday's high are going to be an area of support. We haven't quite got down there yet, but if you look at that high from yesterday and you look at where the price is headed, I think that was about 38.50. We could call it. I don't even know what that high was.
38.19.
Okay.
The high of this wick, is that what you're talking about? 38.15, excuse me.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so there you go. 38.15. That's about where I would be looking for support. It looks like we got a little bit of that when we had this impulse move in the after hours last night, or I'm sorry, the pre-market this morning.
Yep.
And when we came back in, that's where we got support. That's where our support's been all morning. It was that high from yesterday. So that's what I'd be keeping an eye on here if you're trading STI.
Okay. Ryan, please don't interrupt the producer. Let him enjoy his nap. The producer does what the producer wants to do. Let's be honest. Producer, he's kind of a rogue producer back there. He does what he wants. Ain't nobody telling him what to do. I'll tell you that much right now. All right.
Yeah. Good old Bessie. Bring on Bess.
Good old Bessie. That's the way that we open it up here. Okay. I'm actually just going to start with the short interest, and then I'm going to turn this over to you, and I'll be right back. Okay. Short interest on Bimergen Energy Corporation. I've never pulled the stock up in my life. But 1.91% of the float is shorted, 1 day to cover. Let's go back to the chart here. 13, break this down. I'm going to leave it on the 5-minute. I'll go to a daily if you want when I get back, but BRB.
Okay. All right, so yes, the reason why he probably has never brought this up before is because this is hasn't been trading on the market for too long. It actually debuted in February, and you're just going to see some price. You might see some price action in your broker prior to February. It's going to jump back to 2014 when this was a different company. That's not what this is. This is a company that is specializing in battery and solar. They are going to be the news that it's running on this morning is that they're going to be presenting their plan to achieve $400 million in annual sales at the small cap showcase, which is happening on June 9th. That's going to potentially be a catalyst there for this company. The company actually does not have revenue. It does have some cash, about 2 quarters, but I think that the fundamentals might not matter so much right now if they have a plan about how they're going to achieve $400 million. Maybe there's some fundamentals that we don't have available to us right now. So I'd be interested to see what they have to say at this conference that's happening in where is this? I believe it's in California. No, it's in New York City. The company's from Newport Beach, California. So As far as the price action goes here, we did get a nice impulse move that took us over 550 earlier this morning, as high as I think this went over 6. Yeah, 616 was the high that we had this morning. We since come back in. We're looking at VWAP as support right now. But if we manage to continue to climb back up, and I don't have a whole lot of great price action to go off with this one, but if we do try to climb back up here, or if we're looking for support, I think VWAP is going to be support right now. And 540 is looking like the resistance at the moment. Beyond that, I think I would be looking at the $6 psychological level and the 615 high, 615 area.
Okay. Did you need me to go to the daily chart, or are we good with just?
Well, if you go to the daily chart, you can see that it's it's weird looking, and that's because this used to be a different company, and then Best became a company on its own in February. So if you go beyond February's price action, it just jumps right back to 2014.
Got it. Okay. Was it a spinoff or just?
I think this is a new IPO.
Okay, got it. Just used a different used a ticker that was used previously. Okay, cool. Did you have anything else on your list that you wanted to mention?
We already looked at LULU. That's one that I wanted to see what it was doing this morning. You almost shocked me when it said 85, but we're not down there yet. But it looks like we are getting a little weak at the 110 area. We'll see what ends up happening at the open. But yeah, 85 is the next major support area I have to the downside if we lose where we're at. It's 110 area we're at. And I do agree with the 100 psych level, but I don't know that we're going to be spending a whole lot of time there.
Yeah,
that's bigger support down at 85.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that as well. Okay, I'll just run through a couple more of these here real quick. Get Jay's comment in here. IGV, watch for some rotation from hardware to software today. South Core causing a big pull in memory. Okay, thanks, Jay.
South Korea. Yep.
Yeah, sorry. I should have finished it off there, South Korea. And then Koru, I think that's the ETF for it, right? Yep, South Korea Bull 3X ETF is the vehicle that you might want to play on that if this bounces. I guess if you're watching for rotation from hardware into software, we'll see how this shakes out. Jay, I appreciate you giving this, though, especially ahead of time. I know sometimes I miss your comments. Not today, buddy. Not today. Okay, let's get back to the movers list here. BCDA is Biocardia. I feel like we've traded this one before.
You know, there were a lot of names that showed up that we've traded before. Devs, Merlin.
Last is back on. Derek from our chat is long Merlin on the dip. That's doing well here today. All right, let me go through this here real quick. Biocardia shares are trading higher after the company announced it received FDA confirmation from the ongoing CardiAmp Heart Failure 2 trial. May support pre-market approval. May support pre-market approval for market clearance. So we had an initial move up to 165. We came all the way back, lost the VWAP with the quickness. It does look like we held the 15 EMA. We were just rejected at the VWAP again there at 129. Quick peek at the short interest on this name. 2.58% of the float shorted, 1 day to cover. On average, the thing is not traded very much at all. 161,000 shares. Done 42 million versus the 9.5 million float today. Market Sniper is watching for a BCDA break of 144. So that's going to be up here. Market Sniper, you think that takes our sets new highs, takes out the pre-market high of 165?
I think we need to see the price back above VWAP.
We need to see the price what? Sorry, I was coughing louder in hell.
Back above VWAP. And then if we do get that, the next concern that I'd have is what happens at 145. We did get up to 165. We came back in and we struggled to get back above 145. So I'm thinking that 145 might be a spot. I would just kind of peg the next two resistance areas there, VWAP and 145. If we get past that, then of course 160 we might be off, off to the races. But that would be the next two areas I'd be watching.
Okay, that's good stuff on BCDA. Mask is back. We still have the 484 line here, and lo and behold, 13. And we say it all the time. We love when we leave drawings on, and they come back into play days later, almost like it's a prediction.
Yep.
484 seems to be a resistance. In fact, the candles that went above here, none of them closed above 484. So I think that's absolutely going to be a key level. Again, we do have the VWAP sitting right there at 484 as well. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I apologize. My line is at 493. The VWAP is at 484. But that area in there is absolutely going to be a resistance area. Anything else on mask?
If we do recapture VWAP, then I think that I guess I could say maybe 540, 535, because we when we had these impulse moves, that's the area it was taking us up to. We did have one candle extend beyond that to 595, but we didn't get any closes above that area. We still came and closed beneath the 535 area. So I think maybe that 535 to 540 area, if we do recapture the VWAP, that's going to be a tough area to get through. You could see some sellers stacked up there. That would be my expectation. We'll probably have a better idea once we get closer to the open. But the first things first, let's just get back above VWAP.
Okay. Retro says, somebody stop me. Okay, I'll show myself out.
I think he wants to communicate.
Also, sorry we moved through this pretty quickly here. Appreciate you, Wis. BCDA has a clear path for approval in Japan. That was news from last week. We skipped over that when we went over that today. So good shout there, Wis. Good shout. Okay, Merlin, this is moving here. Well, again, congrats, Derek. I know that you were holding this from the dip buy. That's awesome. Merlin shares are trading higher after the company announced it completed the critical design review for the C-130J autonomy program with the U.S. Special Operations Commander, U.S. SOCOM. So Merlin here, to me, for a trade here, I'm looking at this consolidation range and I'm almost like, okay, what happens when we break out of this? Might that tell us where we go next? Values there, 880 on the downside, 946 on the upside. Otherwise, I think we're probably just range bound in here.
Sorry, I was
oh, good.
Something else.
Stuff your stories in a sack, mister.
Okay, so this is sorry, Merlin. Let me just go over this one here real quick because I was looking at STI for somebody, but Merlin. Okay, so another case of wow. Okay, this has a pretty clear resistance area of 10 to me. Every time that the prices run up, guess where it's kind of running into, except for that 111.15 area that we had. But ever since then and prior to then, it was $10 that was providing the resistance. I'm thinking $10 might be resistance, folks. And if we do, and if we do climb above that, then we're going to want to view it as support. So for now, $10 big resistance area. Support, I'd say maybe 875, maybe a little bit lower. That 200 EMA could end up being it as well. But I like your range that you have there. We're just kind of bouncing around.
Yep.
Whichever one we end up start closing above or beneath, that's probably the direction we head.
Okay. What is the short interest on Merlin? Kathy, I actually don't have a float, so I don't have a percent of short, but I do have the raw short figures. I've got 2.55 million shares held short. But what I will say here on Merlin is since we've been getting short report data here, it has continued to grow. So that has crept up here. Now, days to cover still 1.69, so not terrible. 13, do you have a float figure by chance from a different source in your broker maybe?
It's my broker says 75.7 million.
75 million. Okay. And then so we have 2.55 million here. So let me bust out the good old calculatora here. You said 70 what? 74?
75.7.
75.7. We'll divide that by 2.55. And it looks like, oh, did I do that wrong? Yeah, I did that backwards.
And I don't even know if that's that's the correct float, but that's what I have here on my broker.
So that gives us 3% of the float shorted.
Yeah, I'm just did a search to see if they could provide. It says that the float shorted is 4.4% to 8.3%, 1.3 to 1.7 days to cover.
Okay, so we are right about in that here with that. So okay, great. So it's got some, but it's not a lot. I don't really think that's going to come into play today. Also worth mentioning here real quick, and then we've got 5 minutes till we open. We can pretty much do what anyone wants here. Lassie, I know we've been talking about this recently. Lassie is curling here in the pre-market, so watch that 450 level. That's where it found resistance here before. I guess you could also watch the pre-market level, 4.25, but 450 here. That was your intraday high back from Wednesday. So keep that in mind here today too. All right, and for all of you, I didn't have time to get to this here, but we did have a story here on the PDT rule. Robinhood is advertising for it. I don't necessarily know that we need to cover this. We're pretty much out of time, but I will throw this article in the chat for anyone that is interested in reading that. Okay, 13. You want a bigger chart here? Should I just flip over to the main workspace and get ready?
You can. I just like. I was just going to admire the way that LASE is shaping up here as we approach the open. It's almost like we want to go and test the highs from Wednesday, 449.
Okay. This is another good comment here. I'll take this one. Marcus saying, speaking of approving things, this is a professional transition, Marcus. This is well done. Speaking of approving things, the global S&P 500 did not approve the fast track of SpaceX into the index. Now, here's the interesting thing, and I didn't realize this, but I caught this on CNBC earlier. Now, it comes from Andrew Ross Sorkin, so I'm assuming it's good, but worth checking, I guess. It was saying that NASDAQ did allow that into the index. And interestingly enough, NASDAQ is going to host the stock. So the thought here is this kind of like a trade-off, right? Like they kind of shopped around the different exchange. Which one's going to let it into the index early? NASDAQ said, we'll do it. S&P Global says no. Anise said no. Maybe that's what's going on here.
Wasn't it like the NASDAQ 100 and 300?
I believe so, yeah. I believe it was both of those. Someone check us on that, but I think 13's right. So just something to consider here, but they were not approved for S&P 500, which means they're going to have to show profitability and all of those other metrics to get into it.
Not approved yet.
Yet. That's a good good caveat to that. Good caveat.
They're probably going to want to see, more interaction. They want to probably get a fair value, idea of what this company's worth. I'm sure they're going to give it like maybe 6-12 months.
Okay. All right. I'm going to use this time here, 13. I'm going to use this time to shout out one of our chat members.
Let's do it.
We're going to shout out a chat member here. And I know you folks won't be surprised, but it's shout out time. Yesterday, we had a live call in the chat that ended up being an absolute banger for the day. And in fact, with all of the commotion going on yesterday, you probably didn't need to do anything other than play this. Marvell, when this traded down to 280, we talked about this being a support level. Lion Atlas, when this stock was moving to the lows, the pre-market lows, that it made a triple bottom in the pre-market on, Lion literally typed and sent in the chat that this thing was going to print 300 today. And at the time when this thing was selling off, hitting 280, it didn't necessarily look like that. But Lion remained convicted, told everybody that this was going to hit 300. And what happened? It went to 320. So Lion, this was a great call yesterday. I know you're still waiting on now. You threw that in the chat here again, maybe in that software rotation. But yesterday, this was a really, really good call. And I hope that others were able to make money with you on that call.
I took this when it was just dipping under 290. I took it for a little ride over 300. Didn't go all the way up to 320, but I still got what I wanted out of it. It was a fun trade. Thank you, Lion.
Boom. We appreciate all of the insight. Look, I will call out these things when they're made like this. This is an area, make calls. If you guys want to make calls, make calls. There is no trader out there, even the Paul Tudor Jones of the world. They're not right all of the time. Being wrong isn't going to make you look dumb or anything like that. If you have conviction on a call, make it. The group can benefit from that. Followed Kenneth. Yes. Followed his move. Cha-ching. More register rings. Lion is probably either taking a nap or getting the food prepped for his restaurant right now, so he's missing all of this. Frozen King is calling Baiynd to 1,000. Okay, I take everything back I just said about making calls. Thanks, Frozen King.
That'll we're gonna have to have like a perpetual register ring if it goes up there.
Oh, now you need to pay commissions, evidently.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. We're open. Yeah, we'll just ignore that and move on. Perfect.
All right. RMSG trying to push higher out of the open here. We'll see if it can do that. Looks like it's starting to go here. Let's see if it can continue with that volume expansion and take us up to 375. best lower out of the gate. BCDA, that's trying to push over VWAP.
Hey, you're right on this RMSG, by the way.
There it goes. This is what I was waiting for. Let's see, 375. Come on, give it to us.
SPY continuing to pull here. We just coughed up 752 into a 751 handle.
Needs more volume, RMSG, but so far looking okay. So we can get us up to that 375 and through it.
EKS mentioning ARM plus 5% on the earnings beat.
Here we go. Coming back up to the trend line.
Oh, ABM. I was like, what? EKS? That can't be. But ABM, I got to get the ticker right for me to do that.
All right. Well, RMSG does its thing. Look at some of these other ones. Mask lower. Merlin coming up to that 10 level. Let's see if we get a breakout here. LASE did pop, but it came back into VWAP. It's not breaking down, but it's going to need more buyers to lift this.
Planet Labs sinking 12.25% here. Planet Labs shares are trading lower after the company reported Q1 financial results. Also, the company filed a prospectus for an offering of up to 1.5 million shares of common stock.
1.5 billion.
Billion, excuse me. Did I say million? Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. But this is that's probably the real reason this is coming down. The offering. I don't really think it's on the earnings. I might be wrong about that, but I think this the offering is what's pulling this down more.
Merlin, by the way, tapped 10.
Perfect. Nice.
And came back in off of that. That was perfect.
And then look at RMSG. We hit the trend line and we backed off a little bit. We haven't broken back down, but we went right to it looks like 390 was the high, just slightly past our pre-market high, but we touched that. You don't have the trend line on there.
Oh, you know what? I had it on my other chart. Give me one sec. I'll fix this.
We just tapped the trend line here and backed off a little bit. We're still above some of the other closes from the pre-market here, though, so still might be able to push higher. BGMS, this is continuing to sink lower here. So I think that's kind of telling us what's happening with this. Remember, it fell out of the symmetrical triangle. This looks a little bit more bearish right now, but there is some support down at 340. We'll see if it gets it there.
Okay. Jesse saying, been waiting for PL buying point. What is your PL buying point, Jesse?
Okay, so I'll just look at
Merlin through 10. And it's
perfect.
trying to break out. The
Excellent.
10 level absolutely coming into play here.
All right, 1115 is the high. Also, one thing we can do now, just for funsies, it gives us a little bit of a target. Draw a trend line from the both after hour. I think that's maybe an after hours and the pre-market. Yeah, the after hours high and the pre-market high. We'll just draw a trend line. That gives us a bit of a target. If the price immediately went up there right now, it'd be in the 13 handle. But this just gives us a target. So we'll see if we end up even getting close to here. But for now, if we do get past $10 and start closing over it, I think that bodes well for some upside.
Matthew saying, is anyone else's YouTube feed buffering every 5 to 10 seconds? I've got no complaints of that. Try refreshing. Merlin back under 10. That 10 level is absolutely coming into play early here.
LASE with a hard pull here. It's really coming in. So we couldn't get back up to the 425.
Schwab borrowed my Merlin shares, says Kathy. Thank you, Kathy.
This mover from yesterday, Roller, ROLR, this is taken off up 12, almost 13% right now.
It's another low float mover that we've traded in the past.
STI, by the way, has not done a whole lot. It's whipped around. It's still holding above the 65 EMA, but it's kind of stuck in this sideways pattern that it's been in since the pre-market.
SPY here has so far held 752. I'm still outside of the trade windows here for my 0 DTE indicator, so nothing flashed on it yet. And just as I said yesterday, I think it's best that you wait out the first 15 to 30 minutes anyway.
Great job, Bod. Good job there. That trade.
Look at this, dude. It went to the trend line.
Exactly, right to it. That was excellent. I loved every moment of that. Now, I would love even more if we continue to hold above that down. Well, I don't think you've got it, but if we continue to hold above, this 325 area, I think we could still see some higher prints. HPE is a buy at 47. I like HPE. I think that one, Dell, is going to be good ones going forward. So go forth and make money with HPE, Brian.
The Lions roar is happening again. Ryan, Marvell may go down to 282. It's currently at 296 to fill the gap and then rebound to the upside. So there you go. Rustam, good morning. It's great to see you. Rustam's calling RR to go up from here.
Rich Tech Robotics.
Yeah, and this is back down to the low from the after hours in the pre-market on Wednesday, Thursday. So maybe it bounces from that spot. CMD is curling. Wiss, you were on that earlier, I believe. Indeed, we're through the VWAP, Wiss.
Roller's still climbing, coming up to a little bit of resistance, but it is in the 7 handle now. It started under 5. I'm sorry, it started under 6.
Seeing some Merlin calls go off. Those are the 12.5s too. When were those? When's the expiry on that? That's January of 2027. 12.5 calls on Merlin going off. Where's the noob this morning? Chipotle, higher, ripping right out of the gate, almost as if he had a catering order from yesterday.
This thing's been hammered down too.
So real quickly, Reggie is saying Lion's list is moving. That guy must be rich. So I can't speak to Lion's wealth. It's none of my business to begin with. But here's what I will say. When you run into folks that have bigger balances that can carry multiple positions, you'll notice that they're trading a lot. One of the other things they can do is they can afford to wait out things that don't go in their direction. And this is generally the sign of a seasoned trader, right? If you like a bunch of things and you're buying select things, if your thesis doesn't fall apart, then things that move against you isn't the end of the world. But just keep in mind that this is easier for those folks with higher and higher balances. So don't get trapped into doing what somebody else is doing. They might have different risk parameters than you.
Real quick with CMG, because I know we were getting asked about it. Can you go to a daily chart? I think there's something we should probably look at that's a little bit of a concern for me. We did, we have been trading lower over this week, basically all week, you could say, and we lost a key support level. And if you look at back in November last year, there was this consolidation area where we were bottoming. It was like the lows, multi-year lows before we ended up losing that. Now that we're coming back up to it, I'm worried that this area, that was established there, that was previously support, is now going to be resistance. So that whole the whole 31 handle, I think, is going to be a bit of a tough spot for CMG. I'm not saying it's not going to be able to recapture it, but you're probably not going to get the price action you're looking for. I think that could be, it's going to be, I think it's going to be tough for the price to make its way back up through this 31 handle.
Okay, so 31 seems to be the key spot there. As Chicago Realtor is mentioning here, JP Morgan upgrades Chipotle to overweight, but lowered the price target to 35.
Oh, that you could look at where 35 is. That's a clear support and resistance area.
And that's one that we've talked about several times before, if I'm not mistaken. 35 right in here. Look at that.
Yeah.
Bess is halted.
Uh-oh.
Bessie? Good old Bessie, huh?
Now, is it halted on volatility, or is this a suspension for news? Because it's usually it'll say a halt for me if it's a volatility halt, but this says suspended. So I'm wondering if there's news coming with this.
Let me see what I have here.
It may just be a halt.
Bess, halted, reason not available. Now, I will say when it is news pending, generally speaking, the signals tool reports that it is news pending. So the fact that this is reason not available, that's not enough conclusive evidence for me to say that it is in fact a news pending. So we'll see.
Yeah. So, I mean, when did it halt? Because if it's going to be
sorry, I meant to get that for you. My apologies. The actual halt timestamp, 9:37:28.
Okay. So we've got, about 3 minutes left. Let's see if it unhalts.
42:28. We have 2.5 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. So let's see if it unhalts at that time. And if it doesn't, then there's probably something else going on here.
Perfect. Seems like a good plan, a sound plan, as they say.
Okay, let's look at some of these other names here. So
RMSG still compressed by the trend line that we outlined. BCDA trying to move through the VWAP, battling with it as we speak.
Yeah, it looks like RMSG did come down underneath the 9 EMA briefly, but it came right back above it. So we're still in a good spot, but we don't want to lose that 325 area. I think that's going to spell some downside if we do end up losing that. And we'll probably end up seeing the VWAP if we lose 325.
Now, I do, again, here have a small fair value gap on RMSG that technically is still unmitigated. I'll draw that on the chart here real quick. Let me get it here. It's like that is it. Yep, here we go. Excuse me.
Looks like BCDA is going to try for that. I think it was like the 145 area that we talked about for resistance. It's climbing. It's over VWAP now, and it's making its way towards that resistance area where we had all those wicks in the pre-market. Or I'm sorry, actually, no, that's a pre-market. So we'll see if this can climb higher here. I think that 145 area is going to be a little bit tough, but if we get some volume expansion, you could see the other side.
Okay, Kenneth here saying NASDAQ trader has code M volatility for best, so we are expecting that to open here in a minute.
Okay.
And then, sorry, here, let's just go to Lulu. We can go back to RMSG when it makes sense. Here's Lulu.
Oh, okay. I was just reading what Retro was saying. Breaking news: BTC being sucked into the sinkhole. And then what's Lulu's going to rebound here off all that selling?
You know what? I'm disappointed in myself because this was the total trade plan here that we were looking for on Lululemon. This is the technical. When we have these earnings and these sideways moves, we always look for a break out or down from the sideways range and a back test. And if you look closely here, I know the shading is making it tough. It's exactly what we had. We had Lululemon spiking, back testing. It is holding above this range. If this can clear 115.5, likely higher here on Lulu, at least for intraday.
Yeah, it's quite a gap to fill. Also, BCDA is still climbing. We're coming up to that 145 area. I think the two areas to watch for with Lulu to the upside are going to be 116 and 120.
Okay. There you go. More key levels there for Lulu. Also, I would say, you know, it's also possible that this just breaks down back into the range. I would say if it comes back into the range, your move is probably to wait there and to see if we're either going to trade around in a channel or repick a direction. So I don't know how you folks are going to trade Lulu, if you even are, but if this comes back into the range, I think we're probably on hold at that point. Best halt down. So open and halt it down. Thank you, Kenneth. I had my eye off of it.
BCDA right at that resistance area, 145. Let's come right up to it. There's a large seller in the way at 150. Need to see some more expanding volume here, and we can take out both of those areas. Okay,
here comes that 145 test. This is good stuff, man. By the way, SPY here continuing to trade down. We talked early when we opened the program that 750 is probably going to be that first level. 750.89 right now. We have broken into a 750 handle. SPY still heavy here. NASDAQ heavy, Dow heavy, entire market moving lower. Goldman Sachs, Tesla, Ondas, Velo, Palantir, all lower.
And then watch things turn around, you know, and then we'll sail up higher the rest of the day because that's how it's been the past few days. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's see if we get a rebound here pretty soon because it's kind of been that way this week a little bit. You know, we get the weakness in the morning and then it's seeing some better price action later on. And BCDA is trying to push through that 145 area.
It is. I got it at 147. I still have it on screen here because it felt like we were actually going to push through that. Really quickly, I do want to take a second here and thank everybody. I know every single day, me, 13, the producer, and others ask you folks to like the stream to try and exploit the algorithm and grow our community. We are doing really well here with viewers. In fact, for a Friday, this is one of our higher ones. So we want to welcome all of the new people to the stream. Please like and subscribe. You'll get notified when we go live, and we really hope to see you back on Monday. Thank you, everybody, for trying to support our group's mission here.
RMSG, it did lose that 325. It is getting a little weak here. Next support is going to be down at VWAP. Beneath that, I have it, the trend line that we drew from that it broke out of. The trend line that I drew was from the 540 high through the 715 high. And if you just keep that going, you can see that where we broke out at 835. That trend line is between the VWAP and the 65 EMA. So that's going to give you a little bit of a support area between those two indicators. But those will be the next few levels down where we could find some support. Not so sure we're going to get some support from VWAP. We might, but I think this is looking a little bit weaker now, and there's a seller walking this down. So we'll see if we get some support at VWAP. But if we don't, the next two areas I just mentioned, the 65 EMA and looks like about 250, 255. That could be the next support areas.
I would agree with that synopsis. We basically plunged right through the very, very small fair value gap that I have. The interesting thing about this is one of the reasons why I drew this was because it actually lined up quite nicely with our 15 EMA. The longer I'm giving this here, the more it looks like this is an actual battle. So to the point about there being a support level a little bit lower, perhaps that VWAP, but maybe we even bounce from here. We'll see.
So waiting for a BCDA. I mean, it's getting that support from the VWAP at the moment. Let's see. No, that's not the one I was looking at. RMSG. That's down at its VWAP. So yeah, BCDA. That one did pop up to actually this one is high as 151. So we did breach that seller, but we came right back in. Got some support. We'll see if we continue to hammer that area. I don't really see that seller so much in the way there, but there's actually a number of other sellers as well. So between 145 and 160, there's going to need to be a lot of volume expansion to get through all of this, all these shares that are being sold right now.
We did a good job taking out the 145. Maybe it even consolidates for a little bit before we end up taking that out. Real quickly here, Lion saying, Ryan, I'm waiting for Marvell to fill the gap down to 282. Just a reminder of that trade plan. And also the SPY right now is trying in real time right now to hold 750. So we came in. It looks like that selling kind of stopped. I saw Buffalo by Bicycle saying it's getting ugly out there. This a potential bounce spot here. We actually just lost it by a couple of pennies. Keep an eye on this key level here for SPY.
And then BCDA back up here at this 150 area again, where that seller was. Still trying to get through this, all these other limit orders. And then we also have a high roller that was that's trying to reclaim VWAP and push higher.
I am just seeing this news for the first time. 13, I'm sorry for interrupting you. I don't know what this means for the space plays, but if you have any ideas, let me know. Seeing a piece of news here, astronauts on the International Space Station have been ordered to shelter in spacecraft and prepare for evacuation over worsening air leaks on the Russian segment. That came from NASA.
If anything, it probably harms relations between Roscosmos and NASA. That would be my first initial thought. I'd have to think about what this means for space, but it might even be better for SpaceX since they make human capable spacecraft. Let me get back to you on that. I don't know if I want to. No
problem. I know it's in kind of a knee-jerk reaction. That was just kind of an alarming piece of news to see. Anyone that goes to space, I don't care where they're from. I'm obviously wishing for their safety. That sounds scary. Yeah, no question.
Meanwhile, BCDA is climbing up to 165. This has been great this morning. Rollers is taken off as well. That looks like this wants to hit 730.
BCDA pre-market high test. Sorry for interrupting, but it's coming right now. 13.
Excellent. We have that one. We have roller going. These two had pattern setups that were pretty good looking here. Let's see where we go with BCDA. So we're okay. There it is, 165. We're past.
I knew better than to take it off the screen. 13. I knew better that time. There we go. Big pop there. BCDA, at this point, to me, if you took this trade at all from VWAP or maybe even chased it a little bit, this is resistance area 1 to take some profits on that. Let this thing run. You might even get a back test of that spot now. BCDA, good stuff.
If you like trailing stops, this isn't a bad idea at all. I think that's probably one of the safer ways to maximize a stop loss. As it climbs, it's going to raise your stop, and then as soon as you get hammered down or knife, you're out. And you're golden.
Zach mentioning Ondas under 11. Zach, check me on this. I'll do some work on this too when I have a little bit more free time. Check me on this, but it feels like Fridays are generally days where Ondas likes to move down. If we can discern any type of pattern on this, perhaps taking puts on a Thursday is the move here. I'll tell you what, this last Friday we did move down, although we closed green. We actually had a pretty good bounce. I'm going to look into that. This last Friday here, down to the lows.
Well done, Market Sniper.
This Friday down after being up. Okay, tell you what, man, that the puts into Friday on Ondas might be a little way to trade this. Just I'm throwing it out there. Don't have that position myself, but just thinking about how we can maybe bank some more money on this. By the way, Marvell, we're still waiting on that. That came into 288, Lions, so we're not quite down. It's trying to bounce now, but to your point, stick to your plan on that. Marvell, we're still waiting out 282.
It's interesting because that's kind of like the midpoint of the consolidation that happened in the pre-market going into the regular session yesterday.
The 282 area?
Mm-hmm. You can, if you back out just a little bit, I think you might be able to see it.
Yeah, I'm sure we can do that.
There it is. Right in the middle there.
Right in the middle of that consolidation area. And then 280 was the bounce spot yesterday. Okay.
Okay, now with BCDA, because that was awesome, the next thing that I'd like to see is for the price to find some support. If not, from that previous high of 165, which is where it's at right now, then I'd want to see it, around the 150 area. So that 15-cent range, I think we want to see support in there, and that could take us higher.
All right, market here still trying to flirt with 750. Technically, the SPY is under that level, but we'll see if the slowing stops here. If the selling gets exhausted, possible bounce back on the SPY.
RMSG is coming down. Okay, so at lost VWAP, that's one of the things we talked about. This could happen. It's coming down to one of the other two support areas, that trend line. And then beneath that, we have the 65 EMA, which is at 226. So those are the next two support areas. If you don't have the trend line, what I did is I drew it from.
Don't I?
No, it's a different one.
Sorry.
It's the breakout trend line. So what I did is I started with the high from 540 and I drew it through the high of 715. This is all in the pre-market. It's to the left more. The smaller highs. There you go. Those.
540 the time. Oh, yeah. I was like, what am I?
I'm sorry. I should have been.
It's my fault. I should have figured it out a little bit quicker. So you basically did this.
Yeah. There you go. That's the breakout.
Got it.
Now that we've broken out, that's going to become support. So that's what I'm looking for next. Bess is open. Thank you, Reginald. What's up, Bessie? Looks like we need to get a recapture of VWAP here. I think that's the next thing that has to happen with Bess. BCDA really coming back in. It's coming down. Oh, it's losing that 150 area. Maybe we'll see some support kick in here, hopefully. But if we don't get that support, then maybe 125 would be the next spot. But that wouldn't be part of my plan. Okay, what else is looking good here? So it looks like everything's kind of a little weak at the moment. None of the movers really pushing any upside except for maybe LASE, and that's finding some resistance at VWAP.
And the market here not supporting any of these upside moves. I know sometimes the movers go against it anyway, but market's still weak, still flirting with 750. No signs of a big bounce yet.
When it comes, and I know we were asked about Planet Labs earlier, and where this might end up going. I like $30 as a support area. I think that's a really strong area, but I don't think I want the price to go down that far. But if it does, I think it may represent a pretty attractive opportunity. It is trading beneath the 50-day SMA, and I don't expect there to, I'm not too bullish. Well, it's going to be trading underneath that. We recapture the 50-day SMA. I'd be in a much better, have a much better attitude towards this, because that has been, one of the SMAs that the price has been riding up since the fall last year. So now that we're trading under it, I think that's not a great sign. I think that's a little bit more of a bearish move there. So unless we recapture the 50-day SMA, I still think we could see 30.
Okay, good
Hello,
stuff
Amanda.
there. Ticker PL.
Oh,
Morning,
she's trading
Amanda.
Marvel too.
Everyone's marveling at Marvel. Amanda, you did miss a stuff your sorries and a sack Seinfeld reference earlier, which I'm a tad disappointed about, but we'll live.
Okay, so BCDA, this thing really got walloped, but it is trying to recapture the VWAP. I'm almost kind of, with the way that the market's behaving right now, I'm almost compelled to just sit on my hands for a little bit.
Yeah, I think, like, my gut tells me that the market probably bounces from this area. I have not gotten any signal on my indicator yet to take the 0 DTE. I don't necessarily want to just guess and gamble. Maybe I'm fighting myself right now.
Jay with a really interesting comment here, because it kind of ties back to what we talked about in the happy hour. Transport strong, probably on job data. There was a let's see, what was it? Night freight. What is that? It's
night transportation.
Night transportation. Yeah. KNX. This is one that has been going on a rally, and it was pointed out to us in happy hour. And I think it was because it was off of FedEx. The spinoff of their air freight company. I believe that's FDXF. Double check here. Yes, that is it. FDXF. They spun off their freight business. I thought that might have the conversation was maybe this is going to be great for some of the other freight carriers. It certainly looked like that was the case with Knight. I haven't looked at JB Hunt yet. Let me see here. That's been on the rise too. I mean, this seems like this has been a bit of a trend for some time, and yeah, looks like transports are still strong. And I think the job numbers might have something to do with it. I also think that the FedEx spinoff has a hand in this as well.
All right. Good stuff on that as well. Hey, look, Chipotle found resistance right at that area we said it might find resistance at.
Thoughts on QNT? I'm waiting for the IPO volatility to pass, and then I'm interested.
And that might take some time, right? That might not just be a day or two. Yep. Marvell, that quick bounce, yeah, it's gone, evaporated. We're back down into the 288 handle. Lion, good job on the patience waiting for 282 on the possible bounce spot, Marvell.
RMSG is trying to recapture VWAP still. Volume has really been cut down, so I'm not sure how great this is going to be. If it does manage to recapture VWAP, we still have the trend line that was our initial breakout that took us up to 390. That's going to be resistance again. BCDA is also having a similar trouble with the VWAP as well, and that same 150 area, 145, 150 area where it was struggling earlier in the pre-market.
MUD, the MU Bear ETF, that is higher. So Micron continuing its pullback. Marvell, new lows, 286 handle now.
MUD is starting to put in some interesting price action on the daily. If this comes up and it doesn't go too much further beyond 20 and it starts to come back in, I think we're going to start getting a bit of a reversal pattern here. Just something to watch for with MUD. $20 is where I think we want to keep an eye on for resistance. And if we do get that resistance and it takes us back down towards 15, I think there's an inverse head and shoulders pattern forming here, but there's still a lot of pattern left to form. So just a couple of things to watch for. Need to recapture that 200, need to get to 20.
All right, it is 10 o'clock here. I do have a bit of a preview for next week here. So producer, let me know if you've got the asset ready to go. Here we go. If you've been watching gold rip, crypto come back to life, and AI chips refuse to slow down, we're going deep on all three next Thursday. Benzinga is teaming up with our friends at Direction for a free live boot camp June 11th at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to break down how active traders are actually positioning around these themes using ETFs. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit the link in chat. Go save your seat. It's completely free, and it is with our friend Ed Iglinski. That is going to be a good one. That is going to be a good one, folks.
How about this? Eric is saying he's looking for space ads into the SpaceX IPO next week. So I think what you're saying is you want some names for this, to play off of the SpaceX IPO. How about I do this? I will give you 3 of the companies that SpaceX pays for services and products. How about that? Here are the three. And I'm sure you've already heard me talk about a couple of these.
Oh, yeah.
LIN, L-I-N. This provides a lot of the different gases and cryogenic gases that the company needs. So liquid air, liquid nitrogen. It's going to need these, because we're talking burning liquid oxygen and liquid methane. We're going to need these cryogenic gases. LIN is by far and away one of the biggest providers of these gases for more than just the space industry. We could also talk about Air Liquide, but I think LIN, being that's the stateside one, that's one I would go with. We've talked about Velo 3D, that's VELO. This is a strategic partner of SpaceX and the company that actually is manufacturing parts for their rocket engines, the Raptor engines. Very important company to the manufacturing side of SpaceX. It helps pump these rocket parts out quick so they can build these and continue to test in their test flights, which each rocket booster's got 33. So it's a very, very important company to the manufacturing side. And then finally, STM. STM Micro. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say STM as in Mary, but you answered it for me.
Yes, ST Microelectronics. This company has been flying, if you want to look at a monthly chart. And the reason it's been doing that is because this is the company that provides components for the Starlink satellites, the satellite clusters. So 3 names there, all very heavily involved with SpaceX. And these are 3 that if you're looking to take a trade, maybe could consider these. There you go.
I like Velo the most out of those 3. Obviously, it's worked for us before, but in addition to that, we're actually getting a discount on that as that continues to pull back. I think we talked about 15 being a possible load spot on that. We're in a 17 handle. Jay here, real quick, going to take the other side of this. Story Trading has been buying SATS calls on SpaceX. SATS not good today. That's going to be EchoStar. SATS is your ticker. I think it's shaky to buy space now. Let me tailor this a little bit more. What about the specific 3 names that 13 just gave you? All of those a different thesis than the SATS thesis that Story Trading has on this. What do you think about that, Jay?
I mean, he's probably going to say that it's still probably a good idea to wait for some opportunities for these. A lot of these have really run, and I don't think this is just a point where you just jump in blindly. Wait for good opportunities. But with regard to EchoStar, the whole big thing here is that SpaceX agreed to purchase EchoStar's wireless radio spectrum licenses for $19.6 billion, but they did it through stock. So EchoStar is a big holder of SpaceX stock, and I think that's the reason why they're going with EchoStar, because it's one of the companies that holds a lot of SpaceX shares in addition to Google and Bank of America.
There you go. Really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. We have an update on Lion's Marvell trade. He did not wait for 282. He longed 285 here. Here's what Marvell looks like intraday. Currently at 288, so it's bouncing so far, rebounding from your 285 buy spot. Let me ask you, Lion, just conceptually here, what caused you to change your plan from 282 to 285? It does look like the market is trying to bounce here. We're still under 750, and I am still lacking a buy indicator for the 0 DTE trade.
If Best manages to recapture the VWAP, there's something real interesting brewing here with it. If you draw a trend line from the 855, the time, pre-market high through the high of the regular session, there's a trend to break there. And I think that if we do get back over VWAP, that brings us even closer to potentially snapping that trend. Yeah, that right there. I think I'd be keeping an eye on that.
Strong. Thank you, G-Man. SPY reacted to 748.64 as strong support there. Now, we did try to bounce. We were unable to recapture 750, so let's see if we retest that on the downside.
Roller's been going sideways. Hasn't broken down. Still above VWAP, and it kind of looks like it may even try to go back over 725 again.
Real quick here, Kevin, is it just my stocks or is the entire market FUBAR today? I don't know if I would describe it as FUBAR. We've seen a lot worse than this, but the entire market is weak here today, so I suspect it's not just you, buddy. And then Buffalo by Bicycle saying quite a different mood today as compared to Monday where euphoria ruled. There's an old adage in the stock market. If you don't like the price now of a particular stock, wait 15 minutes. And look then. And you are seeing that here.
Best up to that trend line. It could push through it, but we need to see a little bit more volume expansion. RMSG is above the trend line that was initially the breakout that took us up to 390. So if we can hold above that, there could be some more upside there. And then still watching High Roller. That looks like it wants to try and break over 720, 725.
RMSG recaptured the fair value gap area. It's currently hanging in there. No trade for me on that. We melted right through it. Jay, answering the space question here, still can't get around some of the other valuations on those space names.
How about some of these Mag 7s? I mean, based on the valuation versus revenue, it's kind of like they're pretty extended as well, like Meta and Broadcom. They're all, it's all hard to get around some of these valuations right now, space and semis included.
That's kind of been a theme too.
Yeah.
Hard to get around some of these valuations. STI pretty much right at VWAP. This really hasn't done much of anything here today. Does look a little bit heavy to me, and the volume is compressed.
And I think there's just not as much conviction on the space side right now as there is on the chip side, because people see these data centers getting built and they see the demand for compute and all that. So I think there's a little bit of an easier time to understand when it comes to the valuations of these chip companies. But I don't think people or investors are quite seeing all the potential here when it comes to the space plays yet. And I think that's going to change. But right now, I don't think it's near the same level of what the chip sentiment is.
Brian saying that dip buyers are getting smoked like a brisket. Brisket. Now I know what I'm buying at Costco tomorrow. Thanks, Brian.
We could not avoid it.
Nope.
Food
we cannot.
is talked about.
Yeah,
awesome.
Look,
if you're going to bring up anything, though.
I know. I was going to say brisket. You could do worse than brisket. Let's put it that way. Lion here saying, Ryan, you can tell the buyers are stepping in and buying Marvell around 285. Let me put it on screen here for the visual aid. And not letting it fall below. And so okay. So I had asked you why you changed your plan from 282 to 285, and you're basically saying price action here, right? It looked like the buyers starting to step in a little bit earlier than you had anticipated from the chart, thus you followed it. Here's what I will say about this. We are testing VWAP here with this, aren't we? VWAP 293. We're actually through VWAP by about a quarter.
Yeah, through it, looking at the 15 EMA right now. This looks like the MACD is curling up. I think that we're going to at least see 300, but I'm sure we'll probably go past that. But at least we're going to go to 300, in my opinion.
This is a nice bounce here. I'll tell you what, Lion, this is 2 days in a row now where, as far as like latency goes and like timing of the call, they've been excellent.
Oh, Buffalo, you got Brontosaurus brisket. Let's go.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
He says he's got a dinosaur barbecue, so he's got Brontosaurus brisket. Raptor ribs, come on. Got it all.
Woolly mammoth fillet, man.
Oh, there you go. SATS, they have approximately 35 billion in market cap at 1.75 trillion space. They would have 32 billion in space and 25 billion in debt. So the company itself has little room to run, but the debt holders get most of it. But I think it's just more on the sentiment and the excitement. And I think all three of those companies will run: SATS, Bank of America, and Google, just on the IPO alone, because the valuation is going to. Anyway,
Trey, let me go a little bit of a different direction here. You're a swing trader, right? What are your thoughts on a potential opening up a new swing in the space theme post the IPO? Or do you need to see the price action first to make sure that it doesn't get pounded and we don't get a sell the news event?
Yeah, there's been a couple of videos that have been coming out regarding SpaceX and their plan for the future. I think you may have even touched on that Jamie Dimon interview with him.
I did, yeah.
So I was listening to that as I was falling asleep, so I didn't retain too much of it. But what that was, I posted earlier in the day yesterday regarding let's see here, regarding an announcement that SpaceX made. That I thought was pretty incredible. I think that's worth a watch here. I'll pull it up so people can watch themselves.
Jay dropping some really great nuggets here too. Watch Koru, Koru. It just bounced 25 points. That's a must to see action in Marvell, Micron, etc. Here's what he's talking about. This is barcoding a little bit, isn't it? Post IPO, I'm probably shorting any pop. A lot of ETFs are going to have to sell the comp to put space in.
Yep.
And the hype running up on these will fade when they can buy space. Okay, so your swing trades are to the downside on some of the names that are going to get sold to purchase more SpaceX. I like that thought. That one is the most palatable to me as well. 750 reclaimed by the SPY. Still beneath VWAP, still beneath the 9 EMA.
I need to look at SPY. We actually went beneath 750?
Yes.
We did. Okay. Well, I guess Hassett's trying to convince everybody that this is not foreshadowing inflation.
Hassett was on CNBC, but I don't see him on there now. Santoli's popping off and talking with his hands.
Yeah, let's see if this market turns around. But if it continues to be weak all day, then I guess there's some concerns about what's going to be happening going into the weekend.
Bitcoin may sink below 60K. That is accurate. 60,800. I'll tell you something else. The whole like selling stuff to buy SpaceX, I think you're seeing that in Bitcoin. I think you're seeing people liquidate some of their Bitcoin holdings maybe from a long time ago to just get exposure to the new hot thing, which is SpaceX.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Let's look at this on a larger time frame.
Jay, if Koru, let me bring that Koru chart up again. If Koru is able to reclaim VWAP intraday, would you start looking at possible longs on some of those tech names that are related to it?
Can you bring up a monthly Bitcoin chart?
Yeah, I have a crypto chart reserved for exactly this. And let's flip it to the monthly.
Kevin, I don't know, but if you have any information that could show us that, I'd be interested to read it. I don't know where the U.S. government been taking positions in Bitcoin.
Talk to me about the 50-month SMA that we're right at.
Well, there's been two instances since this appeared where the price has come down and interacted with this and used. Well, I guess you could say three, but there's every time that we have that we make the highs and this comes back in. We get this interaction with the 50-month SMA that usually puts in a bottom. It's done that the past two times, and there's only been two times when it's done that because the 50-month SMA wasn't around prior to that. And now here we are doing this for the third time. So I could expect that the price will trade around the 50-month SMA. It'll probably go underneath it for a time, just like it did last time it was underneath it in 2022 and 2023. And then when we recapture it, I think that's going to be where the price starts to turn around. We're going to be leading up into the next Bitcoin halving. And I think once that happens, we could end up seeing those 6-digit highs again. So just something to watch for with Bitcoin. I anticipate that we're going to turn around here once we've had this interaction with the monthly, the 50-month SMA for a period of time. Last time it was, gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10 months where we were dancing around this this moving average. So I expect that we'll be trading around this for some time, and it's also an area of support if you look to the left. So interesting spot there.
Ed says, I love Rick. He's so animated. I think you mean Rick Santelli. I do too. He's one of my favorite. Good morning, guys. Asking if the market value of Bitcoin drop is going into the SpaceX IPO. That's what we are assuming here. Yeah. Yes. And then it's not just Bitcoin, but we are assuming that Bitcoin is part of that. 13, I love this possible support here, 50-month SMA for Bitcoin. Absolutely love that.
Yeah, and like I said, it could be a while that we're trading around this this moving average before we finally move up and away from it. Okay, let's look and see what's doing us good here. It looks like LASE is still back. It's been back above the VWAP for the past 25 minutes or so. Starting to put in the series of upper shadows, though. It look a little concerning. Having a hard time getting back above this $3.85 to $4 area. So this might be telling us that there's some more downside coming in LASE. Best still trying to get past that trend line that we drew.
I mean, Baiynd Atlas. We have a 13-point intraday call back-to-back days. Actually, yesterday was more than 13 points. It was 20-plus points. But Baiynd Atlas is just out here again. The Lions roar, baby. Again, Marvell, 13-point bounce from the entry call here, Lion. And that was adjusted in real time. These are the types of calls that I want from the group here. This is absolutely spectacular. Great job to close out the week here, Lion. Absolutely incredible to see when you focus on this instead of government corruption and opinions. It is absolutely incredible to see the performance. These are the last couple of days here. The group, 13 and I, we talk a bunch every single day, but the group here has really, really shined the last couple of days to close this week out. I could not be more proud.
Great job, Joe, on your Google trade. I'm not a trader of Google. I'm a long-time holder, and I'm just going to continue holding that thing.
Marcus saying absolutely, Ryan. And Brad Olison, the Benzinga's chief content officer, adds that Bitcoin has lost its mouthpieces. Brad is absolutely right on that. You know what, Marcus, did you like the interview that you saw with Brad? Should I ask if he can come on as a guest here and talk about a couple of things? Brad's a super nice guy. I work with him on a daily basis. Very, very bright. Very, very bright man.
Can I just say yes?
Sure. Anyone can.
Yeah, I want him to come on. Seahorse, you made 500 in the RMSG. Nice.
Here, there's your register ring.
Take care, Ed. Have a good weekend.
Yes, King Ryan, I'm a lion, outspoken against corruption. I worship only God.
You worship God with that mouth? Man.
Oh, Ryan, it's you'll never cease to make me laugh. I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Credo is bouncing per Kathy. Oh my God, is it ever? And that actually took out yesterday's high.
LASC still looking like it's struggling here with with getting up to 4, and it's holding above VWAP, but I don't like the way that these past 3 candles look. It looks like this is about to come in lower.
This feels heavy.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I did get a buy signal here on my 0DTE indicator. Okay.
Let's see. What does the SPY look like right now? Oh, yeah. Okay. I see that. We're coming.
We're coming up to the VWAP here, so it'll be very interesting to see if we can actually push through this or if this actually means resistance. So indicator might be a false signal. We'll see how it shakes out. Let's see if we can get above the VWAP there. If we can get above and build, we might have something here. It's also worth noting S&P futures just shy of the VWAP, so we actually haven't got there yet. So if the futures are driving the bus here, we might have a little bit more upside room there.
I do like that we've recaptured that 750 and that 749.53 area.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yes, it is.
The problem now, I think, is going to be that 752.13 area, that previous all-time high. That was support in the pre-market. We lost it. It's going to be resistance now. Going to need to see some good volume to get back above it. Merlin returning. Sorry.
It's okay. Sama, you mentioned Google. I have held it for 3 years. You are doing great then. I feel guilty selling NVIDIA. You feel guilty? What for? Do you think NVIDIA should be held for a long time? Well, first of all, I mean, if you have a very positive thesis and a long time horizon on the AI window, then yes. I mean, NVIDIA is going to be involved in that for sure. But I also don't think you need to feel guilty because NVIDIA has been on a meteoric rise and taking some gains that you had. That these are long-term cap gains at this point. So taking some of those doesn't seem like a terrible idea, to be quite honest with you. And if you're concerned or if you're worried, there's probably a way that you could trim and then still keep some exposure. Just my 2 cents on there. Can't advise what you do. Merlin creeping back up. We'll see if that can recapture 926. I'll tell you what, 13, the $10 resistance area, just absolutely strong. And
our caution about LASC was well founded. We did get a breakdown beneath the VWAP here, though it hasn't really been breaking down significantly. This is a breakdown nonetheless. Maybe it comes down to the 200 EMA where it had support last time. Looks like RMSG also lower. This thing may be finished here if this doesn't get support from the 65 EMA. Either way, this is breaking beneath the breakout, breaking down beneath the breakout area that we had in the pre-market. Maybe this does better later on, but I think there's other things to look at now.
Is this Merlin that you're talking about?
No, this is RMSG.
RMSG, sorry.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, none of the movers we looked at this morning particularly interesting at the moment. Volumes really just fell off a cliff here.
Fed's hammock. Oops, that just disappeared. Some of the Fed quotes here. Fed's hammock says jobs report shows labor market is essentially balanced. Says action on interest rates could be necessary soon.
Retro. I don't think that's a bad sell at all with your AMD at 534. My selling has been very structured, and I had plans about where I wanted to take gains at as this is going up. And I've only done it twice, and I still have a good size position left. But I took a little bit off the table at 300, and I took a little bit off the table at 500. Next, I plan to take a little bit more off at 800 if we get up there.
Have I watched what, Marcus? What were you asking about? I'm sorry, I just missed it. SPY did pull back from that VWAP, so the first attempt there is a rejection. We'll see if it breaks down.
That's amazing, Retro. That's a great price.
Yeah, it sure is.
I have a good price, but it's not 85. It's a little bit higher than that. Ooh, Fox, FOXX. This is a mover from earlier in the week. This just, this was trading up and just knifed.
Okay, because someone mentioned this earlier. I lost my mouse here. Here's Fox. Someone talked about this earlier today, but we were in the middle of something. I didn't get to it. Okay, so it was probably on that curl. Now it's been rejected.
And RMSG also coming in some more as well. It's going right for that 65 EMA. Looking around, seeing if there's anything else that's having similar moves down. Not really. Maybe aside from LASC, nothing else. It looks like BCDA is trying to push back above VWAP.
BCDA also at the top of my scanner here with the most volume being traded in the last minute. That was just eclipsed by SoxS.
This might, if this volume continues to expand, then maybe there's a break over VWAP coming. It would also be right about the same area where that 150 break was earlier, where the resistance is.
I'll tell you what, market is pulling nasty here. So nice little head fake there. SPY and the NASDAQ coming back in a little bit.
And you know, I don't want to say that this is the reason, but we do know that the SpaceX Roadshow begins next week. And, you know, I just can't help shake the feeling that a lot of selling happening today is getting ready for that. Not to mention, we also have the World Cup starting next week as well.
That's right.
And there could be maybe some selling in some of these tech names in order to make room for some of the consumer names, as some of these snack and beverage companies tend to do really, really well during World Cup years.
Barb saying, anyone have an opinion on NU? This was well liked by Tim Melvin Wednesday earlier this week.
That looks like this just put in, it may have put in a bottom. That candle from Wednesday, particularly interesting because it's a really strong reversal candle. I think this is going to at least, you're going to see the 20-day SMA pretty soon, probably next week.
Kevin says you need to sell most of your Bitcoin to buy a World Cup ticket. Thankfully, I can hit the power button on my television for nothing. Mang asking, is it wise to buy a call option with 1 week expiration? That there's no way I can answer that for you. The only person that can answer that is you, because that is going to be entirely dependent on your risk parameters. What you're buying is an extremely volatile instrument that is going to expire shortly. So you have to be right. That needs to be part of your trade plan before you hit the buy button. I want to hear your World Cup play, Jay. Yes. And you better do that here quick before we move over to Anne Marie.
And Buffalo is saying that Coke has been a great core position for him. You know, the price action on the daily chart, I'm a little worried about because it looks like we may have double topped. If we can, you know, climb past 82, I'd be, you know, I'd feel a lot better. But to me, it looks like if this does come in and it looks like we're getting shaky at 75, I think this comes down to 66. I think support's going to be at 66 if we do continue to weaken with Coke. But, you know, as I said, the seasonality, you know, this summer, especially in World Cup years, tends to be better. So we'll see if it can hold above 75. I don't have a guess, Jay, but I'll tell you what, in a couple of days before, or a day or two before the World Cup starts, I'll have an answer for you.
I think he wants us to guess his pick. Just tell us, Jay. Just tell us what your play is here. I have no idea. I will say I was very encouraged the U.S.'s last game against Senegal for them to score a couple of times quickly. Pulisic looked awesome, so I'm ready for that. Here, is this your call, Jay? Airbnb, big money for rentals during the World Cup. That's not a bad thesis.
Oh, okay.
Not a bad thesis.
You know, I'm sorry. In my head, I thought that you were talking about which team. Not which stock. I thought you were talking about which team was your pick for World Cup. I misunderstood that completely.
All right. Tom says, shh, don't tell anybody, but the Knicks are undefeated in the playoffs. So if they lose, you know who to blame for that one. Handle is Tom6617. Sorry, bro. But that's one's going to be on you.
Well, now, Jay, how about this? Because I think people are going to be wanting to go to multiple games. What do you think about car rentals? What's David's budget looking like?
All right, 13. We are almost out of time here. Do you want to finish up with that? I think Anne Marie's ready to go, although I don't see her camera.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, I'll finish up here. Funny, we did get support from Carr at 140. Now it's knocking on the door. Well, it's hitting 180 again. We're not going to see this thing fly up to you know, 1,000 again or whatever the hell it went to. But certainly something interesting. Carr hurts. Maybe there's a World Cup play there coming. But anyway,
Tom says, not only did you throw me under the bus, but you backed up on me as well. Well, Tom, at least I didn't do a burnout.
That was a wet spot on the ground.
It's all love, Tom. It's all love.
Well,
all right,
folks,
13, any closing words for the group here?
It was a wonderful, wonderful week. We made some great money this week. Friday didn't shape up exactly as well as some of the other days, but that's fine. We still made some good money, and we're going to come back on Monday, and we're going to do it all over again. So, folks, enjoy your weekend. Rest up. We've got a big week next week with SpaceX IPO, World Cup, all kinds of great stuff coming. I'll see you then. Take care. Goodbye.
All right, 13, really good stuff here this week. We look forward to talking with you next week. Enjoy your weekend. 13's departure leaves room for Anne-Marie. Let's check in with our resident option expert. Here is Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, happy Friday. How are you?
Happy Friday to you too. Happy Friday to you too. Doing pretty good. My Thinkorswim has decided to freeze on me. And so I think I was going to jump in and say, hey, fill in some dead air for 2 seconds while I leave and come back in and see if it unfreezes. All right.
I can do that. Let's try it.
Back.
I'll put you in the back. We'll see how it goes. Give me a thumbs up if you're good. All right. Let's fill some time here for Anne-Marie. We'll definitely get her on here as soon as we can. For those of you that are filing out here, have a great weekend, all of you. Let me bring my screen back up here. We can take a look at anything that you want. Let's see. Did I miss anything on here? Losing on Tesla calls. Tesla is at the low. SPY rolled back over to the low. 13's back. I don't know if he even meant to be back. I don't hear you, but I see your thumb. There's Anne-Marie. I still don't hear 13. 13, I'm gonna put you in a corner. No offense. There's 13. Don't know what's going on here, but we deal with problems around here. Let's bring on Anne-Marie. I'll wait till you give me a thumbs up. Oh, she's giving me a thumb. Oh, we're in good shape here. Okay, that's see, we're experienced with dealing with tech problems here, Anne-Marie. That's no big deal at all. Welcome back.
Thank you. So yeah, we got a little bit of unwinding in tech, and I do believe it's got to do with that SpaceX roadshow. I really do. I think there's a limited amount of money in the market, and people are ringing the register, and that is what I think we're seeing. They're just getting some cash.
Do you think we might also be seeing the same effect in the Bitcoin market? Because that's getting shellacked as well.
Well, for Bitcoin, a lot of Asia has risen. They've lifted their, whoa, that's hideous. It's lifted. Let me see if BTC does that. That's so weird. Okay. So it's been running off for a while. And the storyboard here is that about 2 weeks ago, Asia said they were going to raise, particularly Korea, they said they were going to raise margin requirements for everything on the exchanges because the market was getting overheated. And so on top of that, I think we began to see the Bitcoin rotation. And really, if we lose this ledge, and it is a very important ledge, so they may battle over it for a few days. If we lose this edge, it's going to be pretty ugly. And my suspicion is that that ugly is going to rotate down to what? Let's see. Let's do this wave. We're going to have a rotation that's probably going to take us to the 40s, maybe 45, or even 32. I saw somebody say they were looking at 34. So yeah, Bitcoin is this one looks pretty ugly, but they are going to fight like crazy here because that low was made on the 6th of February. And here we are, what is it, 4 months? February. Yeah, 4 months later. and we are retesting it. So if you like Bitcoin, this would be a good place to have a gander at it and see if you can put some happiness juice on it. Let them lift off of the
Happiness
60.
juice. That's a new one. You know, we
Yes.
just took a look at the monthly chart there. It's pretty much right at the 50 month. Last time it came in, last two times, the only two times that it's come into that, it did end up bouncing, but it took a while for that bounce to materialize. So
Yeah.
something to keep in mind there. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else what stocks do you want to take a look at here today?
Well, you know what? Because I was in a little bit of recovery, I had to limit my time on the screen, so I haven't really stared down too much, but I did want to look at some of the big players to see if they would rotate down as well. If Bitcoin is sort of the um fly in the ointment that says, hey, we could have a rotation down in tech. So we could look at some of the overheated ones. My favorite overheated one to look at is Micron, of course.
Okay.
And it just, take a look at this. So the last earnings event before this prior one, we went into a 4x event. Actually, it was a 6x event all the way up into this 455, and since then it's just rallied very far past the earnings formations. We had a doji sitting up at the very top. I think sometimes they call those evening stars, or I don't know I'm terrible with the names. And so since then, in the last 3 days, we've had some pretty solid fades. And my thought that it would continue to fade into 750 and fill this last gap. Who wants to go short in this market, right? So the question might be, do you want to just wait until it comes in? I think anyone who's bought in the last, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days has kind of been holding their breath, because although it's moved up, it has given back that last big move. So my suspicion is that it does give back another fair bit into at least 820. And so if you're thinking, can it move at a clip that way? Well, it's already, $100 lower than it was 3 days ago. And so $100 more doesn't seem like that big of a deal. So what if we looked at that 830 to 850 and we said, hey, let's just give it a couple of weeks?
We might need to increase the size there.
Oh, daggone it. Burn it. Okay, there we go. So let's take a peek at where we see traders. There's 5,000 in open interest at 800. So let's see how cheaply we can stage. There's a 500 in volume today at the 850 area. So let's go 850 to 820. So that's 30 spread. So that would be 790. And what does that give us? $1.55. So $165 for $3,000 of motion. If you put your stop at the 85-cent marker and you say to yourself, all right, I'm going to risk $85 on a 3,000 upside, that seems pretty asymmetrically useful. Now, on the flip side, if you say, Anne-Marie, you're a lunatic, nobody shorts Micron, then you can do.
In fact, there was a comment similar to that. Shorting Micron is like getting in front of a train moving at 200 miles an hour.
Right. And so if you belong to that camp, you can go 950 to 980 to, let's see, 30 bucks. Moving in the other direction, it's $1.50. You could trade both sides of that, right? It'd be $3, 300 bucks for the exposure, or you could just go long. You know, that's you. For me, why am I making that decision to say, hey, I'm going to risk a potential short here? Well, number one, my tighter moving formations on the 30-minute, they're all telling me I've got flows that could easily head lower. Easily. I had the volume here that we had is pretty solid, 15 times. So it's this was a very big selling candle. So as long as we don't get above $960, there's room for that one to come in, right? Nothing goes up eventually forever, right? Everything has to take a breath, especially when it's been running at a hot clip like that. A lot of folks are saying, hey, it doesn't pull back very often. Why don't I do that? And you might have to look for this kind of formation developing. Notice how it went up, it topped, came back down, held a floor, and then began to rise and then gapped up again. So if we want to say, hey, where's my floor? It really is at 1,000, 1,007, 1,011. Might be better to wait for it to breach that area to go long again.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. The next one maybe to look at, go ahead.
Really quick, I just wanted to confirm that the expiry on those were June, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
We're just
we got
giving
that.
it 14 days.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah. So the next one we could look at is really Tesla. I don't know if you've talked about the news that people are thinking that Tesla and SpaceX actually become one company.
Yes. In fact, Elon
Eventually.
even talked about them merging. Yeah.
Right. And so if that happens, it could be that, they're just going to come in and bounce again. And so where are they? From an earnings perspective, here are my earnings boxes. And, anytime you want to do this for the pro members, we can get something together. I probably ought to show you all the bells and whistles that work on this kind of formation and how to run it. But it came to that Forex event up here. And now it's coming back into the breakout space. Where do I think it's going to go? I think it's probably going to come into $386. That would be my suspicion, that it would come into 386 and then start running again. For these two to become one company, I think if you own Tesla and they allow that kind of merge with SpaceX based on who's on the board and whatever, even though I think Elon is going to hold 42% of SpaceX for himself. I think that's what I read. This seems like a pretty good place for dip buy as long as you let it come in. Here's the other thing. Most of us in here are quick strike traders. We don't look for things that are very far down the rails, but if you do, there's really, if you can say, all right, I'm just going to wait for the dust to settle, and you literally do a leap, right? You go 1 year away from today into June, and you sell something like, I don't know, the 300, the spreads are pretty tight, right? They're only 55 cents for a year away, and you get 2,700 bucks. You can, if it comes in, you get put to the stock, then you've got it at a pretty cheap price. And, Bob's your uncle as it goes.
Kevin here saying, why would they merge them? That doesn't make a lot of sense. There could be a number of reasons, one of which we found out recently, is that you could actually trigger Musk's pay package by merging them. In fact, if it gets taken over, he doesn't have to meet some of those other metrics other than market cap. And if you're merging these two together, he's going to hit that for sure.
Yeah. And so here's another thought. He's already said, hey, listen, we are going to trim down the number of models that we do. We're going to have X, and we're going to move into the robotic space much more aggressively. And so if he moves into the robotic space and you've got SpaceX with all they plan to do, how much easier is it to send a robot into space?
Yeah, way easier. And in fact, we actually got a note that the future profitability here for Tesla is really going to be all about robots and AI, much less about EVs and things like that. So I'm with you on that. And then the other thing about this whole merger is XAI plays into this too. So now you have an AI company
that's right.
coming into this, dealing with space travel, robots, possibly sending robots to space. Musk has talked about sending an AI robot army to go build a human habitat on Mars. I mean, there's a number of reasons why this all fits together.
Yes. And then when Elon gets there, he can meet his people, because everybody knows that Elon's from outer space. So, oh, I took my hat out without telling you. Daggone it. Let me put that tinfoil hat in the back.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes. So, I think there are actually a lot of pretty good business reasons for these two guys to merge together, especially with the amount of money they're going to be able to raise. They're going to be able to raise a ridiculous amount of cash.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we have? Or do you need a suggestion?
I need some suggestions.
I have to go again with LULU.
Awesome.
The reason is because we had outlined 110 as a resistance area. The stock got absolutely pounded on earnings, right down to 110 in the pre-market. So far, we've bounced, but we kind of think that this is eventually going to kick off 100 and go to 85. So
I totally agree.
Okay, awesome. I was going to say, I'd like to hear what your TA is on that, but also how we can set up a trade for it.
Okay, totally agree on that. A couple of reasons why. The one thing that we're seeing, Brian Moynihan of Bank of America said in his last conversation with whomever, I don't know, the people that interview CEOs of gigantic companies. And he said that the consumer was getting much more selective and also trimming the size of their spend. And so if that's the case, I think it's going to bite LULU pretty badly. Okay. Now, as you know, my husband is a huge fan of their men's pants. He's like LULU. That's it. That's all. The only thing he golfs in are
I know how he feels.
Yeah, because they're so comfortable. And so, of course, there's going to be a group of people that are going to buy LULU as long as LULU's around. And then there are the rest of everybody. So this earnings, take a look at how this chart behaves. I'm going to expand this. Let me maximize this cell. Okay. Look at how these guys behave through earnings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 earnings ago, we had a really big drop off, and it continues straight down through the targets into the next earnings, and then bounced through the gap, held a little bit, and moved down. So for the last year, this company has lost every bounce of consequence. And so systemically, it looks weak, just systemically over the last year. If we go back a couple of years, we can see that, we had, 2023 was their year. So really, since the beginning of 2024, this stock continues to disappoint. absolutely continues to disappoint time after time. If we take a look at broad motion, we can see this level right at around your 110 that gives us a relative floor in terms of the actual extensions from the earnings candles. And so we're seeing that it's right at the base off of its high clip. It's come right into the base of this edge. Now we know that 100 is a big fat round number, but if it doesn't hold 100, it is going to get to 50, with the halfway spot being at around that 82 and some change. So the question is what to do about it. So last earnings, it danced around for several days in the pocket. We really won't know anything until Monday prints and we can see what's going on. But, for me, I would say that as long as we stay under 150, this is no place to be buying. And if you're looking at something and you have patience, it's all about, see, this stock does not just run all the way down. It did at the very beginning of the year, but they normally meander for weeks and then break, and then meander for weeks and then break. And so to me, this looks like a credit spread would be most advantageous. Why? Because you can pick the ranges, and in those ranges, you have theta leak, you have time decay. That's going to give you the benefit of not looking for something directional in your space. That's for the short term. In the longer term, I mean, the market could easily begin to uptrend in September, late September, November. That really has not affected LULU at all because the market's been in an uptrend and it's continued to fade. So if you're looking for something way down there and you're looking at, taking a bet, you could buy the 100, the 75 put into September. A lot of folks are there. I mean, you might be able to get it for 80, 85 cents or so, put in a lighter bid, or even cheaper if it bounces for a little bit, right? If it bounces and gets back up to maybe 120, 125, you could easily get this for 65 cents. So that would be my choice in terms of moving through the edges, because it's done a terrible job of holding support. Yeah. Absolutely terrible.
Okay. Real good stuff there with LULU. LULU needs its Sydney Sweeney moment. Sydney has good leans. Okay. The jokes are great here. So that's phenomenal. Okay. LULU significantly lowered their full year 26 guidance. We reported that at the A block of the show here today. They just had their Q1 earnings. I think they're going to have a bad year.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they picked a Nike CEO. I've harped on that a lot, but this actually might make a good segue here. Do you think we have enough time to hammer out Nike?
Yes, let's do it.
A couple of requests for that as well from the group.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it bad that I feel a little sad that these guys are looking at their swan song?
I don't know if it's bad.
I mean, yes, I grew up with Nike.
Me too.
And so, I remember I had some Nikes with a pink swoosh on them. I just absolutely loved them. They were
Anne-Marie, you have to understand, my childhood was basically June through Christmas begging my parents for Jordans. I grew up in Chicago during the Bulls era when they were winning championships around this time. And all I wanted was the Jordans. I just wanted Nike products.
Yeah.
That was my childhood.
Yeah, I get it. Now, take a look at what's happened from the earnings since its last earnings event. And we've got earnings coming up here. Could this be trying to base. Now, I don't know what their price to book is. I wish Tim would be here to tell me. I don't know what the price to book is. I don't know what the price to earnings are. I don't know what their cash float is, but they just don't have the big stars that they used to have way back in the day. There's just too much competition all the way around. And, their marketers have been tone deaf for a while because they were like, yeah, we're Nike. So what?
Real quick, some numbers here for you. Forward PE at 22.4. The trailing PE is 28.6. You were also looking for book value, no?
Yes.
Okay, let's see what we got here. Book value per share at 951.
So, it's
Tangible
not
book 917.
Yeah, it's not expensive. And so you could say, what's wrong with a little Nike, right? But again, if you're looking to make money, it just cannot get out of its own way. And take a look at how long it took to break the earnings event. This is 3 earnings away. It was in there for 1, 2, 3 months sideways. Next earnings event, 1, 2, 2.5 months before it broke down. And then here we are. Here's that half month, 1, 2. I don't know. Do the next earnings gap us down? Maybe. It certainly is not something that I would buy to see a run up. If you're thinking to yourself there's some kind of reflexive whatever, uh Adidas has the majority of World Cup shoes, right? So it's not, I don't know that it'll be anything more than, if it bounces up, it's a great place to short. I hate to say that, but that's what I think I'm seeing. 40, as long as it stays below 46, this is a short. And so here's the 2.5 months. We've got the next earnings event. When is that coming? 6:30. So I definitely would not get in front of it. Unless you want to short it, and then you can easily do that and do the same sort of thing. The goal is, can I hold it for the least amount of time to make some money? It stays about 3 months in a range and then moves out. And so July would give us that move out range. And, is 35 out of the question? I don't think so. 10,000 at 40. Somebody else is seeing that number. I don't know if they have it as something to protect them, or if they're short and they're thinking of picking some up there. So really, for me, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Okay.
If you love Nike or you hate Nike, you might have a shot in going in one direction or another.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there with Nike. I don't know that we're going to be able to.
We don't.
Yeah,
we don't. So
pretty...
I could give you a couple of overviews.
Love it.
When we take a look at the NQ and or the Qs, let's go to the Qs, and we compare it to see how the Qs are sort of drifting back into probably frontline support. But if we take a look at the Qs and then we compare them to the diamonds, you can see that they look very different. And so there is a concerted rotation into big names, and it could be the beginning of a flight to safety. I don't know, but it's worth pondering in terms of that sort of information.
Okay. Anne-Marie, look, it's good to have you back. I'll be honest. It's good to have you back. You're going to be around Tuesday next week?
Yes, sir.
All right, Tuesday and Friday next week. Do me a favor. In the meantime, enjoy your weekend.
You too.
I will definitely. Summer is here in Chicago, Anne Marie. It is a magnificent time around here. Yeah. So we're
I
in
love
good
the
shape.
weather up there.
Oh, it's great. All right, Anne Marie, thank you very much. We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
All right, Anne Marie's departure leaves room for Paulo, who we're going to bring on. I like to call him Mr. Marvel. Let's say hello, Paulo. How are you? Ooh, I cannot hear you today. You are muted. I see a little mute thing at the top of your little mute icon at the top of your thing there.
There it is. Okay, can you hear me now?
I sure
All
can.
right.
What do you got for us coming up here, Paulo?
Perfect. How's it going, Ryan? We're going to be checking semiconductor stocks, especially Marvell this week. One of the best weeks ever there. The move with Marvell. Also going to check AMD and some other particular stocks that could be a good buy right now.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Marvel is going to check out Marvell. Trading Made Simple with Paulo starts right now.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fits-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. How is it going? I hope we are all having a great week. And let's get started here with some market analysis. As always, I'm going to be sharing some important setups. We're going to be following Marvell, some other semiconductor stocks, and I would also be showing two strong buy setups I'm seeing right now in the market. As always, I have here to the right the chat room. So if anyone would like to request any chart, any ticker, any stock that we would like to see, please just type it in the chat room and I would be more than happy to check it out. I see, yes, our connection is okay. The camera, it's a bit strange here with the camera. Yes, we're absolutely going to be following CRISPR. I see some names here in the chat room. I remember when we were calling Marvell one of the best setups there around basically since December to February. We're going to check it out right now. I do think we might be topping on a wave 3. That means there will still be a bit more room to the upside, but it's already starting to look a bit overextended. And we're absolutely going to check on Marvell. If anyone would like to request any stocks, any tickers there, we already have CRISPR. We're going with those. All right, so the first one is going to be here, the S&P 500. And the S&P 500 managed to do brand new all-time highs this week, despite this is ending up on a correction, not a correction, what am I saying, on a small pullback today, Friday. All right. We're going to, as always, recap quickly on our elite wave structure. So as we have seen multiple times on the past cycles, usually wave 1 goes from oversold into overbought. Wave 2 goes back into equilibrium. Wave 3 has the highest point on the RSI indicator. Wave 4 brings us back to equilibrium, and wave 5 has the bearish divergence against the RSI, which signals that an elite wave cycle is completed. We have the same on 2020, 2021 recovery from oversold into overbought, highest point for wave 3, back into equilibrium for the 4th, bearish divergence here on wave 5, and then again the correction. So that was one of the main reasons why we were actually looking for this to turn up into a macro bear trap and the market to be recovering higher when there was plenty of fears with everything going on in the Middle East and the geopolitical situation. But we were noticing that the RSI indicator once again went from oversold into overbought back into equilibrium, which is a range from 40 to 60. Doesn't necessarily have to be the mid-level for the RSI. In this case, we broke down to 37, 38, basically the same. The point is, it's still kind of equilibrium. We managed to break higher. The MACD didn't even flip below equilibrium as well. And we confirmed that this appears to be a wave 3. Now, one thing I do like about the elite wave structure here for the S&P 500 is that the RSI broke out, reaching the highest point in this cycle. So this would be validating that this is a wave 3. because we are managing to confirm with higher highs. So this appears just to be a correction. I do have a minor resistance, which is joining 2024 and 2025 highs. So that brings us a bit of support here at the 7,400 range. What I do like about this is that despite the MACD is just doing a lower histogram, it's still pointing higher. It still has a bullish setup, so momentum remains bullish. Another thing I do like is that the Bollinger Bands continue spreading out. They're continue expanding, indicating that this move is not slowing down. Actually, volatility is increasing. In this case, it would be upside volatility because we're breaking higher. So it does appear that the S&P 500 could continue this move despite the consolidation we're seeing this week and last week. I would say this remains a valid yield wave structure so far. That doesn't mean it is confirmed. You cannot confirm it. Yield waves, remember, we always mention it's like writing a Sudoku, right? It's you don't know if your number is correct, but you don't know if it is incorrect because it would be breaking some of the golden rules in Sudoku. So yield wave is like that. Until all the important rules remain valid, it is a potential signal, but it can only be invalidated, right? If it starts getting invalidated, we will know because the rules would be starting to break down. So far, it does appear this is still a wave 3, and we would be looking for further bull market. We're seeing strength here actually on the Dow, in industrials, as the Dow went from oversold to overbought back into equilibrium for wave 2. Now the Dow does appear to be breaking out. All right, and it is lagging because the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq already broke out the macro structures. They both had the similar. So industrials is actually lagging a bit relative to the S&P and to the Nasdaq, but we do have a rising histogram indicating momentum is actually building up. While the Bollinger Bands, we can see how they are also spreading out. So I would understand that the Dow would be ready here for a rally to break out and catch up with the market. For the Nasdaq, maybe we're going a bit for maybe some consolidation, maybe a bull flag, but it is also looking like a wave 3. We went into overbought for wave 1 back into equilibrium. Wave 3 has the highest point on the RSI indicator. Now the Dow would be here, right? Actually kind of here. So the Dow has not yet broken out of its structure. Nasdaq did. Nasdaq is actually leading the market. We retested the breakout and we confirmed higher. So and Bollinger Bands are still expanding, but maybe we're going here a bit for a bull flag. Still, I do think Nasdaq and semiconductors and many tech stocks might be actually the first sector to top. And I'm not calling a top, not at all. But my point is that if this is wave 3, there will be one more correction. I don't like to do time frames, but initially I think we could see that correction on September, maybe September, October's bearish seasonality. And then we would be continuing for the final wave 5 towards December. Why is it that even though I don't like time frames, I do think that would currently favor the stronger odds? Because of the Benner cycle. The Benner cycle has a 2026 sell signal, which is currently being validated as we're trading basically on all-time highs in many, many important names. Now, I have personally backtested the Benner cycle, each of every single buy and sell signal. It's 100 years of market data. It took me a while. It was worth it. And what I found is that the sell signals on the Benner cycle indicator have an accuracy ratio of 86%. All right. And the best window to execute a sell signal for the Benner cycle, according to my backtest, would be on December of the year that the signal is being that the sell signal is being signaled for that year. So if we have a Benner cycle B sell signal for 2026, according to the backtest I did, the best sell signal would be December 2026. Usually, the average drop on a Benner cycle signal is 20 to 30, even though we have had very important crashes, such as the 1975, around those years, bear market. It also called the dot-com bubble. It called COVID, even the 1920, 1930 crash. So I do think the Benner cycle might actually work out. All right. And that would also kind of be correcting a bigger structure here, which is a longer wave, which would from COVID, which would be wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Why I do think we have even a bigger yielded wave structure. Remember, the market is fractal because the wave 4 never invalidated lower than the wave 1. So I do think personally that the banner cycle might end up correcting all the post-COVID market, and that would be quite a bear market, which of course would then bring up to the next bull market. But my point is, so far, I do think if we start seeing a bit of consolidation and we start making a brand new high, that would start looking like a wave 5, and I would start getting much, much more defensive. But we still got some more bull market, at least I do personally think, until December. Where is it that I think we're going to find strength? I think we're going to find strength in high growth stocks and small caps. So what we're seeing with IWM here, small caps Russell 2000, is this does look like a stage 1 accumulation. We broke out. We had a wave 1, wave 2 to overbought back to equilibrium, and this would so far look like a wave 3. Kind of looks like the market is pricing in that we are going to have rate cuts, and I don't like to speculate like that, but it's a clear breakout on small caps. It's a very strong breakout here, and that also goes along with the bias that this could be the final wave on the bull market, because usually on late bull markets, small caps and speculative stocks tend to outperform, and usually we have plenty of IPO activity, and we got OpenAI, we got Anthropic, we got SpaceX, right? We're seeing all those signals that indicate we are forming the AI bubble, and it can go very, very high. So I'm not going to try to call the top, but as the market goes higher, the more defensive I would start getting. And not only RKK, not only IWM, RKK. Now, RKK does look very good. I'm not a big fan of the ETF itself because they sometimes open and close positions and not the ideal timing. But RKK is strongly correlated to high growth stocks, speculative stocks. And the volume profile on the weekly would strongly be signaling a stage 1 accumulation, a week off stage 1 accumulation. Accumulation level was 35, 37, 40, 44. And it does appear we're breaking into a stage 2. It actually appears we might have already done a wave 1 higher. So I wouldn't be surprised to actually see RKK starting to break out and maybe reaching 150, which is the 1.6 if this is a new yielded wave structure, which would then be all-time highs. So I wouldn't be surprised to see RKK actually managing to break out. Now, which sectors, I wouldn't be personally going long RKK, but which sectors and which stocks would benefit from this? RKK's biggest position, I understand, is Tesla, so I think that would be signaled in a Tesla rally. Also, financial technology stocks, and also genomics, right? So I do think the sector strongly correlated to RKK could be outperforming maybe on the remaining of the year. Let's give it a check now to semiconductor stocks. We're going with Marvell. Congratulations to everyone. This is amazing. This is much stronger, I have to be honest. This is much stronger than I was expecting. Did anyone bought Marvell? Did anyone bought Marvell? We were signaling here and with all the buy setups, and don't worry, I got another one that is showing the same signals that was showing here Marvell. I wouldn't be buying it here. Now, the thing is, Jensen Huang all of a sudden came out and he said that Marvell was going to be the next $1 trillion company. All right. And that was basically one of the best days in my best stock market days in my life when I saw that, because we went from 198 per share to 330. That is massive. It's so strong that it actually invalidated my yielded wave count. It actually invalidated my yielded wave count. I don't know if remember, but my price target for Marvell was 140 per share. Can you imagine that? This was my price target. When I was signaling a buy here, it was still like a 2x from here. But my price target was somewhere around here, 140, 193. What is this? I mean, we already went over the 4.2 Fibonacci extension. This, of course, appears to be the wave 1 into overbought almost, wave 2 into equilibrium. Wave 3 is the most overbought price in its entire history. But we already went past the 4.2 Fibonacci extension. So I gotta be honest, I don't have any higher price targets here. My yielded wave structure kind of got invalidated, but to the upside. So maybe I think for the yielded wave structure, I would have to flip into the logarithmic, right? But I would like to be honest, I'm not quite sure on that. On the logarithmic, we are kind of on the 1.6. But my point is, this is a very strong move for Marvell. There is just something I don't like. There is unfortunately something I don't like, and it is the weekly volume. So remember, it's not the color on the bars. I already fixed that, making all the color or all the bars gray, so I don't get influenced by that. But it is where it comes. And this looks a bit like this could be a potential buyer's climax. This peak here and this volume, I don't like that much. I don't like that much, to be honest. And the move looks parabolic. Now, if my yielded wave structure is correct, I do think maybe this could be a wave 3 top. All right. Maybe even though I'm not going to be calling tops, I mean, if we start seeing like a consolidation, I would understand the next all-time high could be the wave 5. All right. And then I think I would be finally looking to close my position. The point and what makes it difficult is that Jensen Huang said that it's going to be a 1 trillion market cap. I think it's somewhere around 280, 290 last time I saw it. So I did the math, and if we hit 1 trillion market cap for Marvell, that brings us to 1,120 per share. So if Jensen Huang is correct, Marvell would be going here. And I don't know how I'm going to be charting that. If we reach Jensen Huang price target, that would be basically, for round numbers, 1,100 price per share. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's Jensen Huang price target. I don't know. Of course, he knows what he's speaking. He's Jensen Huang. But let's see. So I'm not sure on how the yielded wave cycle could develop. My point is, it looks still very bullish. Let's see how it develops. It's very strong. Another one would be AMD, and let's leave some time for the requests. AMD also looking very good. Looks like a potential wave 3. See, AMD already reached the 1.6 Fibonacci extension. Maybe it could go into the 2.6, but my point is, all semiconductor stocks kind of look like we are on wave 3, that we could maybe continue a bit higher, but as soon as we do a correction and we confirm with new highs, I think it would be starting to look like a wave 5. Now, 2 setups. I see we have a request here for super microcomputer, and that is one of the 2 I was looking to signal today. So I do think personally super microcomputer could be the next AI infrastructure stock to rally. Why is it? Because revenue is starting to get hot here. So we had one big revenue increase, all right, from 5 billion in revenue to 10, but that was just one. Can they hold it? Well, they did. Yeah, we dropped a bit, well, to 12 actually. We dropped to 10, but revenue is starting to go places here. This is good revenue for super microcomputer. Growth, it's strong. We are at 122 growth. The price to sell ratio is nothing at 0.88. You know what is the price to sales ratio for other semiconductor stocks? 20, 30. Super microcomputer, it's a 25 billion market cap doing 10 billion in revenue. You want to see Palantir? I don't have anything against Palantir, but just so we can put this into perspective. Palantir, it's a 300 market cap and they do 1 billion. All right? 300 billion market cap and they do 1 billion. Super microcomputer, they're 25 billion market cap and they're doing 10 billion. That's insane. It's crazy. Yes, yeah. I get it. The problem is that the management. Oh my God, yeah. I suffered it. I was long. This happened to me. I actually started my position here for super microcomputer and the management. My God, that was difficult. I did increase my position here um, because of the product. The product is great, but yeah, the management, that's the problem. But still, super microcomputer, I do think they do have taken some debt here, but it is way less than the revenue they're doing. I do think because of momentum, especially because we're breaking out on the RSI and we do have a rising histogram, we got a buy signal in the MACD. Remember, buy signal for the MACD is when we have a bullish crossover while we remain below zero. The sell signal is when we have a bearish crossover while we are above zero here. And the histogram is still rising, and we haven't not yet broken out, but momentum usually precedes price. We're seeing how the RSI breaks out here. So I would understand momentum would be kind of giving us an early signal. We are going to break out on super. I don't think it's going to be left behind, especially because the product is great. The product is great. Is almost as good as bad. The management crazy. Yes. Well, yeah. But I do think it's more of a technical trade. I'm not saying it's a stock to hold a long time, but I think the technicals are very good. Now, my favorite setup right now, it's ServiceNow. All right. First, let me show here what's going on with ServiceNow. They haven't had a single revenue decline. Every quarter they do higher, not a single one, really. You can check them all. Not a single one has been declining revenue. All right, revenue growth, not loading here. It is very positive. Price to sale at 8, it's super cheap. Operating margin going higher. The company is getting more and more. So revenue is rising with expanding margins. Free cash flow, super positive. For some reason, it's not loading here. The net debt too. But market cap at 1 billion, at 100 billion. I do see they don't even have debt. They have more cash than debt, and they have a growth rate around 20-30%. It's a 100 billion market cap. I do think ServiceNow could be a 500 billion market cap. I do think personally that, and I want to show you the same. We actually saw it here for Marvell is the insider buy to sell. Insiders have loaded up 500 million shares and they have sold 1,000 shares. That's more than a 10-to-1 ratio, but it's not only the ratio, it's also the amount compared to how much insiders are holding 1.7 million, but they had a net purchase of 500 million, represents 40% of the total insider shares held. That's 40% of the amount of stocks insiders on ServiceNow are holding were purchased the last 6 months. So insiders know the company better than anyone, and it has the three things we got them now on ServiceNow. We have strong fundamentals, super strong fundamentals for ServiceNow. There's no way we can deny those fundamentals we have just seen are great. Great revenue, expanding margins, no debt, low his cheapest historical valuation compared to its price to sales ratio history. So fundamentals strong. Insiders are massively loading up the stock, and we got the technicals. We got the big volume bars on what seems a capitulation. This does seem a wave 5 Elliott wave correction. Look, I wouldn't even rule out a retest of the lows, all right? I wouldn't even rule out a retest of the lows. But my point is ServiceNow is able to go maybe to 300 or 350 per share, which I personally think it will be able to do so. Buying it at 115, buying it, 85. I thought it was going to be 100. I forgot it was 85. Still, I would say it's a buy. It is a clear buy here. Oh, also, momentum breaking now. RSI momentum breaking now. We got even the bullish divergence. This was a lower low in price, higher low in indicator. So it would be ServiceNow. I think that would be my favorite buy right now. And let's go here into some of our setups. Yes, let's go with CRISPR. My God, those genomic stocks are testing my patience. But I already destroyed my stock market emotions. I do think we're still on stage one accumulation. It's still looking good. I do think this is a wave one, wave two. I like the volume. Basically, it's all about the volume. We're right here. This is where big institutional smart money is actually accumulating. The accumulation range goes from 40 to 50, and that is just, I get bullish and then I get bored every single day. It's like one day we're at 48, the next day we're at 60, and okay, finally time to break out in CRISPR, then back to 50 again. It's crazy. And it's really, really, really being a big test of my patience here, but I do gotta admit this does look like a stage one accumulation, but we're still in stage one. We got the big volume bars indicating they're accumulating. I would understand. We have here the volume profile is showing this is being accumulated. Unfortunately, we currently do not have insider activity. Insider activity is a bit muted. All right, I think we have like 3% buy, but that's not much. I would call it a stage one accumulation. But if RKK, which is very committed to genomics, it's starting to break out, I think that would be a bit the signal I would be looking for CRISPR. All right, now their fundamentals are starting to look a bit better, not yet good because it's just coming out of basically clinical. Why does it show it like this? No, for some reason it's not showing it. Strange. Looks like it's not showing there correctly. But the new products on CRISPR are starting to bring more revenue, but it's still super early. I would call it a hold still, a buy and hold. Seems to be still in stage one. Snow, I think it already bottomed. Let me see what I had. Fundamentals for Snow are very good. Very, very good. Let me get this out. And we're trying to break out. It appears we're trying to break out in Snow. I did miss it here, unfortunately. I really wanted to take it. We could even discuss an inverse head and shoulders, even though I think it's more a stage one accumulation. We could discuss this as a left shoulder, neckline, head, second neckline, right shoulder. But my point is, I do think this is a stage one accumulation. And my main argument would be the volume profile. So the volume profile here would be indicating the accumulation range was 139, 150, 170. I do think they accumulated it here, smart money. We did fail the breakout. All right, let me show you the accumulation pattern. We did fail the breakout though, and it did look like it was breaking out, but we would need to break out here higher to continue lower. To break out here higher to be able to continue higher and retest previous highs. I do think the volume profile is all we need to know about this stock. And I do also think, if my memory is correct, insiders are also moving. I think insiders are moving. Oh, Jesus. Oh my God, no, I didn't notice this. We got 5 million shares purchased against basically 2 sold. That gives us a net purchase of 3 million, but they are holding 9. That's 50%. Is it? No, I think the math is not correct because it's almost 10 million and the net is 3.3. Why does it say 50? It's comparing it only to the purchases, not taking into consideration sales. It's strong. Yahoo Finance says it's 50% bought, but I think it's somewhere around 30. Still, my point is, the last time I saw it, it was 30. So it's strong. I mean, insiders are massively buying it. That we already see it here. They are buying it on what seems a stage one accumulation. I do think software stocks might have already bottomed and that we're breaking out into service now. Would probably go into all-time highs. We have time for just one more. Let's see, which one can it be? I think maybe NBIS. Yeah, let's see NBIS. Okay. And that would be the last one. Let's do it quickly so that we don't steal time here. Oh my God. All right. The first thing I see here is that this would be wave one. Wait a minute. This could also be wave one, wave two, wave three, wave four, and wave five. A bit confusing, but we do got the RSI highest point here, and we are already having a bearish divergence. Difficult. Let me chart it. This is a nice one. Let me chart it. I'll just give it a check to insider activity. All right. I wouldn't be buying it here. That I rated a hold. Well, insiders are break even here, basically going on. I would call it a hold. I wouldn't be buying it. We would have to see if this could be a wave 5 high, but I don't think that, because it does appear we still got a bit more bull market. I would understand that maybe we are yet going to break into new highs. So this would be wave 1 from oversold into overbought, wave 2 back into equilibrium. Wave 3 would have the highest point on the RSI indicator, even though it could also develop without that specific rule. It already has the highest point on momentum on MACD, and we already reached the 1.6. So initially speaking, I would think this is the wave 3 here. Maybe we're going for a wave 4 correction, and then if we correct and we go into all-time highs, I would start thinking this could be a final wave higher. So that would be all for today. I would like to thank you everyone for your participation and your attendance. Also, I would like to thank Ryan, Aaron, and everyone at Benzinga for inviting us here. We're just going to close by looking at the Marvell chart. Is amazing. I see some people were actually able to get into Marvell. Some actually got into the alert signal. Some other members also were already in Marvell, and they used the setup we were signaling as a further validation. I'm very happy to that. Marvell has been amazing this year. Thankfully, it was my biggest position. Thankfully, it bought very good results year to date here. It's even making me forget about genomic stocks that we're getting up 10%, down 10% up. But here on Marvell, it's amazing, this move. I would be following it, of course. Let's see when we could take profits. I would be looking for maybe a correction and then a final wave 5. But then Jensen Huang said 100,100 per share. So who am I to actually deny that price target? Let's see. That would be the best year ever if Marvell does of 3x from here. Crazy. Thank you, everyone. And let's continue riding this bull market until the potential banner signal, sell signal on December. Thank you, everyone, and see you in a couple Fridays from here. I hope you all have a great